What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here in the studio after Spurs have bottled it once again. We have lost to Ipswich by 2-1 just before an international break, with a big opportunity for Spurs to go third in an absolutely shambolic performance. It really was a bit of a rally in the second half, but I mean, it just wasn't good enough from start to finish, really. Look, we'll get into the nitty-gritties of the match review. I was there yesterday and... God, I left that stadium feeling so depressed. I went after the game to go meet Brian. We were gonna have some drinks together and stuff in the pub, and I was like, I need to get out of here, man. I just need to get out of here. And I did a quick video with him, and then I just darted off quick time. But
what did Brian ever do to you? Poor Brian.
Nah, he was with many people. He didn't need me. But look, let's get into the match player ratings, and we're gonna start off with Vicario. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I mean, I don't think he made a save for the whole day, to be honest. I think he was largely untested in terms of what he was doing. I thought it was a bit poor, that parry for him to go straight into Dragoshin, which nearly was an own goal. I guess he was kind of strong from his crossing as well. But yeah, it was a kind of unbusy day for Vicario.
Yeah, I thought actually his distribution was quite good in this game, but that's all pretty much he had to do. Both goals, I don't really blame him too much. I guess the second one, as you say, the parry wasn't the best, and maybe he could have got it away from Dragoshin, and he didn't get a strong palm to it, and he got a big enough palm to make it a bit wider. But other than that, I think he had to make one other save throughout the day, which was a simple save. I think all other Ipswich chances there, they hit the bar or they went wide. Sorry, he made a save in the first minute, didn't he? That was a decent save from Smodics, but that was the only save he made all game. So, yeah, I think his distribution was good though, and if we made better use of it, we could have created a few chances, but we didn't, unfortunately. So.
Pedro Porro up next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I felt he was poor on both goals, to be honest. Not being aggressive enough, not being combative enough, and I felt like he was out of position a lot, to be honest, and they were giving us no ends of problems on the flanks, and he was nowhere to be seen for a lot of them. I thought defensively he was really poor. In the second half, well, first of all, in the first half, I thought his passing was really off it. He did grow into the game a little bit in the second half and try to push the ball up the pitch and showed a bit of good passing, but I thought he was really poor throughout, and I was calling early in the second half for Jed Spence to come on. I
thought going forward he was actually pretty good. Corners wise, obviously got the corner, took the corner for the goal, and also took the corner where Solanke had the goal ruled out. And I thought his corners a few of them were threatening, but a few of them did go into Murich's arms, which was very frustrating. Defensively, first goal, he's caught ball watching, to be honest. I think it's actually more on Johnson, which we'll go into in a minute, but I also think he could be a bit more aggressive there. Second goal, I think he's got a problem with the second goal, which when we play against a back five, it's a problem I've highlighted when with our fullbacks. They don't know whether to go, when the team plays a back five, our fullbacks don't know whether to go with the wing back or go with the inside forward when we're playing a 3-4-3. And Leif Davis is coming forward. He goes towards Leif Davis and it leaves Smodics completely free to run in behind, and they get the second goal. So I have a bit of sympathy because he had two men, but it still wasn't great. Could have been more aggressive, got to Leif Davis a bit quicker. On the ball a bit better, but yeah, defensively wasn't a good game for him, so 5.
Radu Dragoshin up next. 3s all round from Radu, and after the really poor performance out in Turkey in midweek, you really wanted to see a response from Radu, and you just didn't see it, man. I think he wasn't aggressive enough. I thought he was getting out-muscled a lot, beaten in the air a lot. Obviously, he nearly scored that own goal, but Delap nicks it off him and smashes the ball in the back of the net. I just thought it was a poor performance all round, and his frailties on the ball, playing out the back as well, shown again. So really poor from Radu, really.
A lot of people questioning Radu now after this game, because despite having good games against City and Villa, the last 2 games have been absolutely horrific, and his lack of ability on the ball has really been there for all to see. And I think his in the first minute he set the tone with that bad mistake. He heads it right up in the air under no pressure, and then he loses the ball to Amari Hutchinson, allows Hutchinson to breeze past him, and they get a chance from it in the first minute, and they kind of set the tone for his game. I thought for the first goal, he's obviously gets caught out wide. I think, as you can see, Udogie fills in, but he's not aggressive enough to try and stop that cross. If you're going to be out wide as one of our main headers of the ball in the box, you've got to be aggressive at making sure you're stopping that cross. Doesn't do it, and it leads to a goal. The second goal, obviously I have a bit of sympathy because it hits off him very quickly, but he also, if you look in the build-up to that goal, he keeps everyone on side. Smodics he's the only one keeping Smodics on side for that goal. So as much as he has sympathy for how it ended up in the back of the net, he doesn't have any sympathy for me when it comes to how he kept everyone on side for that goal. He was the deepest by far. Everyone was in line with the penalty box, and he dropped deep and kept everyone on side. As you say, on the ball, he just looks so awkward. You always feel like he's about to give it away, and when he actually completes a pass, it's like a nice surprise. And that is something that he has been a problem ever since he's been at Spurs, and at the moment it hasn't improved at all, really. He looks like he's very easily pressable. He looks like teams are basically using him as a pressing trigger as well because of his awkwardness on the ball. I don't know whether it's because he's on the left-hand side of defence, but I don't think, even if just because you're on the left-hand side, it shouldn't make that big of a deal. Like, if you're comfortable on the ball, you're comfortable, whether it's the left or right, and he just doesn't look comfortable at all. And defensively, he just didn't dominate Delap. I know Delap is quite a physical striker, but he couldn't dominate him at all. And Delap
he's supposed to be a physical centre back.
I know,
That's
exactly.
supposed to be his main trait.
And he was naive, was giving away stupid fouls. It was just a terrible day for Dragoshin, and he just looked all over the place, to be honest. Had a lot of people pinning back for Dyer.
Look, I think when you're talking about characteristics on the ball, I think Dyer is a lot better than Radu in that aspect. And you're looking at Davinson's performance out in Turkey in midweek.
So I'm doing pirouette.
Oh, mate.
You see that?
Davinson at the moment looks better than Radu Dragushin, which is really, really worrying. And we speak about a lot, don't we, about the signings that have come in since Ange has been manager, right? Mm-hmm. And about how each player has been profiled really correctly. I think this one has been probably the worst of the lot in terms of pure profile, because he doesn't look like the right profile to play in an Ange's system.
I agree. At the moment, it's still quite early on in his career, but at the moment, I can't really see what they've seen in him to think that he's perfect for the system. Yeah. He's not good on the ball. He's not lightning quick in behind. I think he's not slow, but he's not like the quickest, similar pace to Romero. And, when we know with Ange's system, you have to be very good in when you're one-on-one defending. You have to have pretty good pace. I mean, he's got good strength, but and he's good aerially, but you have to be good on the ball. You're going to have a lot of time on the ball, and when you're isolated, and you're going to have a good passing range. He doesn't have that. So there are centre backs out there who are far better than him on the ball. So I don't really understand at the moment why they've pulled the trigger on him, but. Look, it's still early on in his Spurs career. He's still young as well. He's 22, so he can improve. But look, you're comparing him to Van der Ven, who's also 22. They're worlds apart at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Coutinho Romero up next. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. A bit of a surprise inclusion. We did hear that he could make it in this game, and I don't think he looked totally fit, to be honest, coming into this game. He looked a bit of a yard off the pace, to be honest, throughout the game, and I thought he put in a poor performance. It wasn't the Kuti that we know. I know he's had some bad mistakes this season in terms of leading to goals, but I think throughout the game you just didn't see that aggressive Kuti that we know and love. We didn't see the unbelievable ball playing ability to play it out the back, and it was just a bit of a lackluster display from Kuti.
I think some of his passing into Solanke was decent. I remember he set up a chance for Solanke in the first half, but there was also times, especially in the second half, when the game got a bit frantic. His passing was just going out of play, and he seemed to be he's struggling with something. I agree. I think for both goals, he's culpable as well. I think the first goal, his header is nowhere near strong enough. He gets a good contact with the cross, and he allows Delap to outmuscle him a bit and stop him getting a clean clearance on, and he ends up heading it up in the air rather than out of the box. And also for the second goal, as much as Dragoshin is keeping everyone on side, Romero just stops. Romero has Smodics, he's got him in his sights, he's tracking him, and then he just completely stops and allows Smodics a free run. Now maybe Romero's thinking, you know, the plan is as soon as you hit the line of the penalty area, you stop because everyone's going to keep him offside. Maybe that was the plan, but in that situation, you've got to be aware of where everyone is. You've got to be aware of where Dragoshin is. If he's dropped deep, you've got to keep following Smodics. And that's sometimes a problem with Romero when it comes to leading that back line and making sure that everyone's doing their job. Ange just said in previous interviews that Romero's not much of a talker, and he leads by example a lot of the time. But, you know, sometimes we've seen all the best backlines. They have communication. You have to have communication with your other teammates, and that is something I don't know if it's a language problem or what, but clearly it's something that Romero struggles with, and he just does stop. He stops and allows Smodics to get in behind free, and that's inexcusable. Whether it's keeping him offside or not, he's got to be aware of that situation. And I thought he did struggle with Delap for a lot of the game, similar to Dragoshin. I thought Delap was up for a battle, and Romero, I agree with you, just didn't seem completely fit, and he didn't seem up for it yesterday. So, yeah, gave him a 3.
Yeah, and you see him, don't you, on the pictures on the way to Argentina, all smiles with Lisandro Martinez, and it just makes you think, like, did he have one eye on this trip to Argentina? Because we all know how much he loves playing for his country. Did he want to stay fit and not give his all in this game? I'm not going to, look, I am saying it, aren't I? But it just like has that question in the back of your mind. But Destiny Udogie, 4s from Sim, 5 from me. I felt like he showed a bit of good link-up play up and down that left-hand side with Sonny. But apart from that, again, defensive frailties in there from Destiny. I felt like it wasn't just him, it was both wings. We were just so open on both sides of the flanks, and he was a big part of that.
Yeah, first goal obviously comes down that side. He is filling in for Dragoshin, so I'm not going to mark him down too much. But obviously we do get caught out down that side. I think majority of it did pretty well. A bit of it came down his side as well, actually, I have to say, that, especially that chance in the first minute. Again, not sharp, not looking for those opportunities to be aggressive. He had a few decent interceptions, but you know, he had a rest on Thursday, so you thought he would have been at his best for this one, and didn't make enough of an impact in the final third. And I thought defensively just wasn't at his sharpest, Destiny.
Rodrigo Bentancur, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I thought he was the only player on the pitch that comes out with a little bit of credit in this game. I thought he was aggressive throughout in the middle of the park. He obviously tried to drag us back into that game with that bullet header into the back of the net. But I thought he was at it for more or less the whole time he was on the pitch. You know, how many times was he winning the ball back in the middle of the park for us, trying to set us up on our way to go up the other end? It's just a shame that none of the other players showed the kind of, you know, it just seemed like he wanted it, but none of the other players really did.
Yeah, I think he was our best player on the day, to be honest. And he obviously got the goal from the corner. He also got the assist for Solanke's goal that was ruled out. I thought in the middle of the park, I think the stat he won 7 tackles. So that goes to show you how much work he put in that middle of the park during the 90 minutes. However, for the second goal, I think he's got to bring down, I think it's Hutchinson. He has to bring him down. When they're on a counter-attack there, he had 2 bites at it, and he couldn't win the ball. He goes diving in, and obviously as soon as he loses that challenge, he leaves us exposed. So I do think, you know, he's a bit culpable with that goal. I think that, look, the goals are a bit of a shit show all round, but he has his part to play. And there was a couple of times, I thought, in the second half where he takes the ball from the centre-backs. He actually gave it away in very poor areas, and it nearly cost us another chance. But, you know, I'm willing to overlook it a bit, because I do think, by and large, he was the one in the middle, looking to be a bit more aggressive, looking to force the issue a bit, and actually had a bit of quality. He played that beautiful ball, I thought, in the second half to Brennan Johnson, who was going to be through on goal, but his touch took him a bit wide, and he disguised it so well. If you watch it back, it's an unbelievable ball right into Johnson's path, and Johnson should have done more with it. I think, by and large, he was our best player.
Yeah, by far. I don't think there was any comparison. Like I said, I think he's the only one that comes out with a little bit of credit from this game. Pape Matar, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. Unfortunately, he did go off injured, but Ange said it was just a knock and he should be okay. So that's, you know, I guess good. But I felt like actually on the ball with his long passing, he was actually pretty good, Sarr, in this game. But I felt like uncharacteristically, it was actually off the ball where, you know, he let us down on a number of occasions in this game. He tried to keep the ball moving, keep the ball ticking along, but it just wasn't like the Sarr performances that we've seen in recent weeks. And he's been getting rave reviews from Spurs fans. Unfortunately, this is a step in the backwards direction.
Yeah, it just wasn't a great performance. I don't think he got involved enough on the ball, to be honest. honest. I know he had some good switches of play, which is all well and good, and that's something you need to do. But I thought in this kind of game, we're playing against a back five. We're playing against a team setting up to kind of frustrate us, and he didn't really have the incisiveness on the ball to break him down. And he's been getting goal contributions recently. I'm not asking him to get a goal contribution, but make an effect in the final third, and he wasn't able to do it. He obviously did do some decent pressing, which obviously there was one point which led to Ipswich's second goal, but we had a brilliant chance just before Ipswich scored. It wasn't down to Sarwell, we missed it. He won the ball back for Spurs to go on the attack, and unfortunately we didn't take advantage of it. But I thought he should have been taken off earlier, maybe even at half-time, bring on Maddison and really go for it. He didn't do that. But I thought having Sarr in this game, what would bring us pressing-wise would be of real advantage to us. But at the end of the day, we couldn't really press effectively in this game. So his use in the team for this game wasn't as much as it could have been.
Decky up next. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Definitely, I think it's up there with the Palace display for me. To be honest, 2 really bad displays from Decky. Probably when we needed him the most. He's been brilliant throughout the season. Really poor performance. He failed to make an impact going forward by any stretch of the imagination. Probably should have gone off a lot earlier than he did. Or did he go off yesterday?
No, he didn't.
No, he stayed on.
Yeah, he could have gone off
onto the right wing. He should have got taken off because he just failed to make any sort of impact going forward. He really did. And then, what we know about Decky, he wins the ball high up the pitch. He's like a bull in a china shop when he's on the ball, and we just never saw any of that.
Yeah, he looked completely off it. He did, and no bones about it. He was anonymous. I thought at times in the second half, maybe he takes off Decky and brings on Madders, and that can give us a bit more on the ball, because Decky wasn't really offering anything. Very little quality in the final third, wasn't really getting the ball in any good situations, wasn't using his body strength like we know he can. And as soon as I thought as soon as Ange put him off to the right wing, he was out of the game, and he really struggled to provide anything. Apart from there was one moment where he ran down the right-hand side, went past one player, cut it back on his right, but unfortunately the ball wasn't accurate, the cross wasn't accurate. But he didn't really offer much on that right-hand side, and he was out of the game at that point. So it was a really, really frustrating game for Decky, and I thought he could have easily been taken off earlier. But if you're going to leave him on, just partner him with Madders. That's what, and try and get that dynamic going again. But he didn't do it.
Sonny up next. 6 all round for Sonny, and I felt like Sonny was the only one that had the ability and that was thinking about taking a shot on. He had 4 shots on the day, 2 on target, 2 off target. A nice little shift and shoot, which I'm not sure if the keeper saved or it went just over the bar, but he needed to try that more. We were struggling to really create chances, and Sonny's got that ability to keep the ball moving, and a brilliant cross in the first few minutes for Brennan Johnson, where Brennan's got to be doing a lot better from. And he was the only one that could provide any sort of little bits of quality for us to have chances on the day. So, I felt like there were a few good moments in there from Sonny, but ultimately it still wasn't a great performance.
Yeah, I think, probably our brightest attacker on the day, to be honest. He obviously put a ball on a plate for Johnson in the first few minutes, which was a beautiful cross. Probably the best bit of quality we saw from any of our attack the whole day was in the first 3 minutes, and who little did we know was going to peak at that moment. But a beautiful ball. Johnson has to be scoring that. I thought he didn't quite have his shooting boots on. He had a few efforts. One of them forced a good save out of Muric. The other 2 blazed over the bar, really poor efforts. And then he had one moment in the first half where he looked like he was looking really sharp. He jinks in between 2-3 players and then tries to bend it into the far corner. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite hit the corner. Muric comfortably hangs onto it. I think one of the big moments that Son will be really upset about himself, and obviously that's probably a big moment in the game, was just before Ipswich's second goal. He's got a chance to either lay it on a plate for Johnson or Solanke. Or even cut inside and shoot. He's on the left-hand side. He gets played in after we win the ball high up from Muric, and his ball is poor. It's ahead of Solanke. It's behind Johnson. It's literally, and it could have even pulled it back for Decky. Doesn't do that as well. And unfortunately, that moment there, instead of going 1-1, they then broke on us and scored, Ipswich. So that was a really big moment in the game. I also want to say in that second half, he moved into like the number 10 position for like the last 20 minutes, and it just didn't work.
Shocking.
It didn't work. I don't know why we did. If we're going to move Son inside like that, either you partner him up front, get him really high up next to Solanke, or you just bring on Madders and get Madders in the 10, because Son just not a 10. And he was running around. He was kind of looking to pick up the ball every which way, and he wasn't finding any sorts of spaces. He wasn't really picking up the ball in any areas where that he could affect the game. The actually only moment he did affect the game was when he somehow found himself back out wide, and he played a beautiful ball to Werner, who blazed it over the bar. That was actually a good moment from him, but he went back out wide for that moment. Son in the 10. I don't want to see that as an experiment again, to be honest.
Solanke up next. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. You know what you're going to get with Solanke. Full of running, full of effort, full of desire. But I felt there was a bit of a lack of quality, and that chance comes right at the end to him. He has Sonny in the box. It was a poor effort. So either you need to put that in the back of the net, or you need to square it to Sonny. That ball has to go into the net, back of the net, at some point. And yeah, look, he put effort in, but ultimately it was poor quality.
Yeah, I think he gave Ipswich a bit of trouble, but we couldn't really get near them with our pressing, which is a big concern. I don't think it was all down to Solanke, but he didn't seem obviously at his best. Clearly, he nearly went off just before half-time. Werner was stripped off and ready to come on, and then he sat back down because Solanke looked like he picked up an injury. But he did use his strength on a couple of occasions. There was one moment Romero plays the ball into the box in the first half. Solanke's able to take it down on his chest and forces a good save out of Muric. Obviously, that moment in the second half, he pounced on an Ipswich mistake and should have squared it to Son. That's a big moment for him in the game, and he took the bad decision. It was a poor finish as well. Really unlucky as well. Just after half-time, looks like he gets us back in the game, and he just hits it off his own hand. It's so unlucky in that moment, because he gets the contact on it, and if it doesn't come off his own hand, it probably goes in the back of the net. Unfortunately, he hits it onto his own hand and it goes in. And in the modern day football, that's got to be ruled out. So if that goes in, with extra 20 minutes on the clock before getting back in the game, maybe it can be different. But didn't happen. Just one of those days where it goes against us. But I thought he gave them trouble, but unfortunately wasn't enough trouble.
Yeah. Brennan Johnson up next. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. I mean, what a poor display it was from Brennan. First of all, in the first minute when Sonny puts that on the money for you, he lets the ball attack him instead of him trying to attack the ball and put it in the back of the net, and it just hits him and goes out wide. Every time he got on the ball and tried to put in a cross, it goes straight into Muric's arms. I felt like every time the ball came to him, it just kind of like bounced off him. It was just a shocking display from Brennan, and he had a few opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net, and he failed every single time. And it was just one of those displays from Brennan where you're thinking, yeah, we need another right winger to come and compete with him.
Yeah, terrible day for him. As you say, awful miss for the first goal. Sorry, in the first minute. That has to go in. No bones about it. That has to go in. I will say he was slightly unlucky in the second half not to get a penalty, because I thought Leif Davis definitely handled it, and he had his arm out when Johnson crossed it. And on the replay, it is touch and go whether it was in the penalty box or not. But if it was, I think that is handball, and maybe you would argue you could have had a penalty. But what I want to say about Brennan is he's a coward. Absolute coward for what he did in that first goal. I thought that was unforgivable. What he did for that first goal. He saw the situation unfolding. If you actually watch the replay of the goal, he notices what Smodic's about to do. He goes towards him, and then as soon as Smodic is about to do the overhead kick, he backs away. He backs away, and that's cowardly. You need players playing for your team who are going to put their body on the line for the team. You need players who are going to give everything for the team, and Johnson was pathetic and cowardly in that moment. I'm not saying that's his character and that's who he is, but I'm saying in that moment, that's exactly what he was. And there is no excuse for what he did in that moment, in my opinion. And I think Ange will be looking at that and will be absolutely seething and will be furious with Brennan Johnson, because if he just puts his body on the line, he gets a free kick there, and there's no goal. No goal happens. And he knows that. Johnson Johnson knows it, and he pulled out the challenge, and that's absolutely unforgivable. And if I was the manager, if I saw that, I might have hooked him there and then, because you can't be doing that on the pitch and expect to stay on the pitch. I'm sorry, that was inexcusable from Brennan. Inexcusable.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Timo Werner, the substitute, the only one that we're going to rate. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. He came on. He did add a bit of attacking impetus. He was beating his man on the outside. He was getting in balls. He was having a couple of shots, but ultimately his shooting quality was well off it. I mean, it was a classic Timo display. Let's be real. Where we know that Timo's got the pace and Timo can beat his man, but it's his quality in the finishing. And if we had someone to come on with a bit of quality in the shot, a bit of quality in the cross, then we might be sitting here talking about, an undeserved draw or something like that. But it was just classic Timo, in my opinion. But at least he gave some effort.
Yeah, I think he gave us something, a bit more pace. I thought some of his deliveries from the left-hand side were actually pretty good. A couple of times he got in on his left foot, put some decent balls across the box as well. There was one time he cut in on his right foot and put a decent ball to the back post. Unfortunately, again, we did take advantage of it. But whenever Timo gets on the pitch, it always comes with Timo-like actions, and that shot, which was really well set up from Son, plays it to Timo, and unfortunately he's on his left foot and he just blazes it over the bar, and that was a really good opportunity just on the edge of the area to get back in the game. He also did have an effort from about 30 yards, which I don't think he don't know why he shot from there, but it did force the corner, albeit I don't think it was going in anyway, but Muric had to tip it over. I thought it was a decent cameo from him. I thought he offered more than Johnson, and he offered it looked like the game was dying a bit, and he injected something into the game, and it looked like maybe we might have gotten something when he came on. So give him a bit of credit, but unfortunately still a lack of quality.
Yeah, and let's finish off talking about Ange Postecoglou, who's coming under a lot of criticism and a lot of fire today. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 4. And look, I think when we saw the team line up before the game, we're all saying that's probably the team that we want to see. That's the strongest team. But in classic Tottenham fashion, we come out and we don't push the agenda in our favour. We had a massive opportunity to go third. We had a massive opportunity to dispel this bloody stupid international break record, where it's now 5 losses, straight losses before international breaks. And I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened, but it's up to Ange Postecoglou to get these players up for these kind of games. And he just fails to do that quite regularly now. Crystal Palace, now Ipswich, 2 absolutely dreadful displays where we really need the 3 points and where we should be getting the 3 points. It's just like any team that hasn't won in a while, any team that hasn't won all season, just come and play Tottenham, we'll give you the points. We're like a charity case at this point. It's unbelievable what is going on at this football club. And Ange Postecoglou, he's got to be getting his players up for this game. And yes, the players are just as culpable, in my opinion, as Ange for this game. But you look at the changes and the tactical decisions that he'd made during the game. It's absolutely shocking. At half-time, everyone in that stadium, including myself, probably you guys in the studio, are calling for changes. We need changes. Bring on Maddison. He's the one with the guile that can unlock defences. Why didn't we see Maddison until 5 minutes before the end of the game? I think it was absolutely ludicrous. To put Son in the number 10 to change up the tactical formation. Every single time Ange makes a tactical switch in the latter stages of the game to try and push the agenda in our favour, it goes horribly wrong. It seems like he's got this one tactical setup of playing, and if he can't do that, anything else he changes to, he falls flat on his face. And look, a lot of question marks coming towards Ange, and if you're looking at his record now, since that Chelsea game, 17 wins and 17 losses or something, which a lot of managers have been sacked for a lot less at Tottenham Hotspur. That's the reality. 5 wins now and 5 losses so far this season. It is nowhere near good enough. You're looking at some of the teams that we've lost to this season. Crystal Palace haven't won a game all season and still haven't won a game by the way, after the Spurs game. Ipswich haven't won a game all season. 2-0 up against Brighton. There's a clear issue here at Spurs, and I don't think it's just Ange. I think the players are very much involved too, and I think it stems right through from the top of the club all the way to the bottom. I think everyone is culpable for what's going on at Tottenham at the moment. And if you're going to ask me whether I'm Ange in, Ange out, I don't think sacking Ange changes anything. I still believe that we need to stick with the project. I still think that, you have seen a few signs of improvement from last season to this season, but you cannot get away from the fact of the results. It's a results-driven business. And for Spurs to have 5 losses so far this season, it is nowhere near good enough. And if these results continue to happen after the international break, with the games coming thick and fast in December as well, I don't know if Ange's going to last till Christmas.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I do think he'll last till Christmas. I'm confident that, not that we're going to go on a big run of wins, but I'm confident we can keep ourselves in and around that top 4 battle. Up until then, for sure, in my opinion, because the league is so tight, and that could probably save him. The fact that at the end of the day, we're only 3 points off third, but when you're losing at home to Ipswich, there's a serious problem. There's no doubt about it. When that kind of result is happening, regardless of, we're juggling Europa League and all these different things, Ange I thought anyway, was doing a good job managing the squad, and he was doing a good job, giving certain minutes to certain players in certain competitions and making sure he's got a balance. But if you throw the game on Thursday, you can't lose the game on Sunday. That is just the bare facts in the matter. He said on Thursday, by taking off Johnson and Son at half time and, starting 3 teenagers, I wasn't against it. I'm not criticising him for that. I'm just saying he was sending out a message that the more important game is Sunday, and we're doing all this so that we're keeping players fresh for Sunday. Then you can't then have the excuse of, they were tired on Thursday because they played on Thursday. I don't care if they had to travel from Turkey, all that kind of stuff. It's not an excuse. We have to take responsibility for that situation. The fact of the matter is, we ended the game stronger, and we ended the game looking like we have a lot more to give. So I don't think fitness, because we play on Thursday, is an issue, despite the fact that there does seem to be some sort of correlation between us playing on a Thursday night and losing on a Sunday. Look, there's a correlation, but you can't use it as an excuse, because he's managing the squad in a way to take that excuse away. If he was playing the same players, and you can say that, but he's not. So I don't think any of the players can say, I'm playing Thursday, I'm playing Sunday, I'm tired. I don't use that. I don't buy that as an excuse. Yes, we've got 5 losses, and when you're losing so many games, that is absolutely unacceptable. I get the fact that we don't draw. So in a weird way, the fact we don't draw, we actually, we've won 5 and we've lost 5, still keeps you in the hunt, because if we had lost 5 and had a few draws in there, it would be well out of it. But because we've got 5 wins as well, only 2 teams have won more than 5 games this season. That's how tight this Premier League is. So it's as much as 5 losses on paper is absolutely horrific and it's unacceptable, the league is so competitive and it's so tight that 1 win and you're in the top 4 all of a sudden, and that's how tight it is. But the problem is, we're losing to teams who haven't won all season. Again, that's another excuse you can't really say when you talk about a competitive league. Everyone's beating each other. Well, we're losing to teams who aren't beating anyone. That's also a big red flag at the moment, and that doesn't give you confidence that we can go on and beat other teams when you're losing to teams who haven't won this season. In this specific game, I thought his tactical changes was terrible. I thought moving Son inside was a terrible move. I thought only giving Maddison 5 minutes was a terrible move. I thought moving Decky to the right wing was a terrible move. He should have brought Maddison on at half time. I don't know if there's a beef going on with him and Maddison or something at the moment, but I understand that Sarr deserves the spot right now because of how well he's playing. But to not put Maddison on until 5 minutes to go in a game like this, when we're losing against a team who are second bottom of the league, clearly you've been suffering with confidence and with defensively as well. I've conceded quite a few goals. Who else better to come on and change the game and give something more than James Maddison? Give us a bit of magic. And it's not like he's been terrible this season. So I don't understand why I gave him 5 minutes. And also, it kind of feels like once he came on, Maddison, with 5 minutes to go, it's kind of like the game was frantic at that point. We're just lumping the ball in the box. We're like hitting it, hoping at that point, because we've got the sense of urgency and we're just desperate to get back in the game. If he brings them on like 60th minute, there's still quite a bit of time, and he can still be a bit patient, Maddison. But it felt like, because I don't think Maddison was good when he came on, but I felt like when he came on, it was just a bit very, very frantic, and it felt like whenever he got the ball, he had to try a hero pass or he had to go long, and he didn't have time to be a bit patient and try and play through Ipswich because there was so little time. So why not bring him on earlier? Get him playing with Decky, really force the issue, really go at Ipswich. We never really did that. And I think Ipswich out-tacted us. They changed their system to a back 5, and he didn't know how to compete with that. Not the first time it's happened, in recent weeks. It happened against Palace, they went to a back. They obviously played with the back five. And we really struggled against them. Maybe Ipswich learned from that. They saw what Palace did to us, and they thought, well, they'll follow suit because they changed their system. They went to a back five, and they caught us off guard. And Ange again wasn't able to influence the game from the bench, given the tactical changes from Ipswich. And when you're being out-tacted by a team who are second bottom, that's a big problem. I'm not sitting here saying I'm Ange out because I'm not. As I say, because it's the league is so... Look, we're going well in Europa. We're in the quarterfinal of the Carabao. Those are two good things. League, we're 10th, and that's unacceptable, and we can't be 10th. But, as I've said, we're 3 points off third. So, as long as that's a scenario where the league is so tight, I don't think he's in danger of losing his job. If the top four do start to pull away, then I think the danger comes. And we do have Man City away coming up. If we lose that, maybe we will be looking like it could be 6 points, and then all of a sudden Fulham, who are in good form, then it could be 9. So that is where the danger comes. I think as long as we're in touching distance and we're going well in Europa and we're going well in Carabao, I don't think his job's in danger, and that's reality.
But you know, also another reality is you see this so often with Spurs and managers over the past, since Pochettino, right, where good start, think we're onto a good thing, and then these performances start to creep in. And then you start hearing out of the press saying, oh, the manager's doing this, oh, the manager's doing that, and the players start complaining. And then you see, you know, a real string of poor results. I'm worried that's gonna come in early December over the next period after this international break. And if that does happen, then Ange is going to lose his job.
But also on the same token, you wouldn't be surprised if we go to City and win. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
I wouldn't be surprised if we go to City and win, but then if we go to City and win, I wouldn't be surprised if we go and lose the next game.
Yeah, exactly. This is Spurs.
This is Spurs right now, where we absolutely battered Aston Villa, who hadn't lost away from home all season. We beat Man City, albeit a weakened Man City side in the Cup. We cannot keep doing this. Every 1 week, Ange is the Messiah. 1 week, Ange out. 1 week, Ange is the Messiah. 1 week, Ange out. We need a bit of stability here. And it's just driving me insane. It's just so up and down and up and down and up and down. I mean, I don't even know where to turn. Like, seriously, it's doing my head in.
Life as a Spurs fan. That's what it is. And, you know, I look, as much as it's really terrible, it was a terrible day yesterday. For Tottenham, and for all the times I felt maybe we had learned our lessons from the Palace game and the Brighton game, where I thought against City and Villa we really showed that fight to win those games, and we really dug deep and we were super aggressive. And then in this game it wasn't that, and we were off it again, and we were flat-footed again. And again, were we arrogant? Did we just think we were going to turn up and win and not have to fight for the right to win that game? And if we keep turning up in these games every other game thinking like that, then at the end of the day, the manager is going to be responsible because he can't change that situation. So if it keeps happening, then Ange will be responsible, and he will be under serious pressure. But as well, I don't want to hear any fan who said, I don't care about the league this season, it's only about the Cups, going for Ange's head. I don't want to hear any fan say that, because we're doing well in the Cups. And yes, we're not doing great in the league, but if your priority is the Cup, then you should be delighted with how things are going.
Well, what if we go out to Man U in a few weeks' time?
Well, then it's a different situation. But at the moment, we're in the quarterfinal. We've won 3 out of 4 games in Europa. So if you're only looking at the Cups this season, you've got no reason to be angry.
I think it's a silly way of looking at things. I only care about the Cups and not the league. I mean, the league is your bread and butter, isn't it? And you need to be showing progression in the league. And earlier on in the season, when we were dropping those points at like Newcastle, Leicester, you know, you could see something to cling on to in those games. You could see we deserved more out of those games. But now these performances away from home are starting to creep, even at home now, at Ipswich and at Crystal Palace, the second half against Brighton. In those like 180 and the 45 against Brighton, there's nothing at all to cling on to. Absolutely nothing. And it seems as though performances in the poor games are really regressing, like fast.
And that's the worry, that things don't seem to be getting better. And that's a concern. And also, every time we win, we have to come back. You know, West Ham, Villa, our last few wins, we have had to come back. All our wins, really, apart from Man United and Everton. We've had to come back and win all the other games to win. And is that a sustainable thing? And clearly it's not, because yesterday it wasn't sustainable, because we conceded that second goal, and that was too much of a mountain to climb for us. Even against a team like Ipswich, it was too much of a mountain to climb. So there's a Ange has issues at the moment. As much as I really like the way we play football, and I think when we're in full flight, we're beautiful to watch. And I also think, when the team is functioning, we're not conceding too many chances, and we do create more chances and all this kind of thing, and the underlying data looks good. The end of the bare facts of the matter is, he is every time we win, we're having to come back, and we're too inconsistent with our results, and Ange has to sort that out. Absolutely has to sort that out. But on the positive side, there is a good opportunity to sort out because the league is so tight. So we're not too far away. It's not like we're way off it. We're only 3 points off third, which means that the league is extremely tight. So if we do start to sort these things out, then we can climb the table very, very quickly. But do you have confidence that he will sort it out? That's the question.
Yeah, but you look at it. I mean, we have seen similar things, maybe not exactly the same style of play. I mean, quite polar opposites displays. But Conte comes in halfway through a season and gets us to finish fourth, and we had no right to finish fourth that season. We were playing actually really good football. We were scoring loads of goals. Everyone was really happy and excited for the next season. Fast forward to when Conte gets sacked, we're still in touching distance of the top four. The underlying data wasn't that great that season, but in terms of getting points on the board, it's not like we were far away from fourth. And then he gets sacked, and then we finish nowhere near it. We finish in 8 points. So I mean, these kind of things happen under every single manager since Pochettino. So I think you've got to look further up.
I mean, were you suggesting that this is similar to the end of Conte?
Well, I am seeing similarities in terms of, in certain games that the players are just not playing. The players don't look up for it. And no matter who the manager is, you see these kind of performances. No matter who the players are, you see these kind of performances. And I think it's a culture within the club. Because it's how many different players are we going to see put in these abject performances in games that we should be winning? How many times? We see it manager after manager, squad after squad. How many times? It happens year after year. That's what I'm saying.
I understand that, and I've had my issues with the board 100%, and I've criticised the board heavily for sure, and especially how they dealt with the regimes under Conte and Mourinho. I personally don't have much to complain about with what they've done for Ange. I think they've gone in a different direction since they brought in Lang a year ago, or 18 months, or whenever they brought him in. They've spent money which they needed to spend on this squad. I'm looking at this squad, and I don't think you can tell me this squad is not good enough to be Ipswich. Of course it is. And I just don't see, at the moment, of course, when you look at a pattern, 20 years, all this kind of stuff, I've got no love.
Just see post Pochettino till now.
I've got no love for this board. I've got no love for this board. All I'm saying is, since Ange has come in, I don't think anyone could have come in and done something different. I mean, maybe you could have spent a bit more money here and there, but look at this team. There's 50 million players all around the 11, all around the squad. 50 million players all around the team. So unless you're suggesting there should be 100 million pound players, I don't know what more we want from the board at the moment in this for what we're doing.
All we're doing is bringing in players to decrease the wage structure in the club. That's all we're doing right now. And you're talking about. You're happy with the players coming in, and I was happy for the most part, but still there is a lack of quality in the team. Yes, the team was good enough to beat Ipswich. Yes, the team was good enough to beat Crystal Palace, but maybe it's not about the players coming in. Maybe it's about the mentality within the club, the culture within the club. Maybe football is not the first and foremost thing at this football club. And I think it shows year in, year out under different managers, different tenures. When Conte left the club, the last game was a 3-0 loss against Southampton, right? You're telling me that team wasn't good enough to beat Southampton? I mean, we see this time and time again. It doesn't matter who the manager is. It doesn't matter who the players are. Until there's a big change from the top where we start to go for top caliber players and change the mentality and put football first in this club, this is going to keep happening time and time again. It's like Groundhog Day every single year, and that's what it's like.
I just think it's too easy to point in that direction, in my opinion.
But when the same thing keeps happening, what other direction can you point in?
Yeah, but they've changed the way they've operated. They've changed the way we have to admit they've changed the way they've operated in the past 18 months. That's the reality. They've spending a lot more money. Whether you think that money's spent in the right direction is that's a different case. But the big problem before is lack of investment, all these different things. And I'm looking at the team. Everywhere you look, throughout the whole team, there's expensive players there. Like, I don't think the amount of money we're spending is a problem. You talk about, we want to lower the wage bill. But you look at other teams, how they're absolutely stuck with players on massive wages who haven't worked out, and it completely holds you back. And I understand not wanting to completely go in that direction. Obviously, it would be great if we can get another Rice. We can get a Rice in, or I don't know who else is big money, a Haaland in, or something like that, who's justify the big wages. But for every Rice and Haaland, there's an Anthony, there's a Sancho, there's a Casemiro, all these players who just chain to your club because you can't get rid of them. Look, we've already had that with Ndombele, how that screwed us big time, having someone like Ndombele on big wages who didn't work out. So we're going in a bit of a different direction. But I look at the players we have in the team. We have very good. We've got good players. I'm not saying we've got players that maybe can compete with City and Liverpool right now, but we've got a very good squad. We do, and I don't think there's much. That look, maybe as a culture thing, I don't know. I'm not within the four walls of the club. I don't know what the culture's like within the club. I don't think Levy's coming to the dressing room saying before the game, you know what, it doesn't really matter what happens today. Don't worry, boys, it's all good. Like, the football culture, that's down to the manager. That's not down to at the board level what happens in all the four walls of the dressing room, or on the training ground.
It all stems from the top, Sim. It all stems from the top. We've seen it under various different managers. Conte, when he left the club, and everything that he was saying was spot on. He was absolutely spot on, and we commended him at the time for saying these kind of things.
And they made big changes since then.
They haven't made big changes because they signed Richarlison for 65 million under Conte. We were spending money under Conte. And now we're still carrying on to spend the similar amount of money. Yeah, fine, we've spent more money on a whole under thing, but we're actually spending less on wages. We're spending a lot less on wages.
It wasn't just money, it was recruitment. It was how they were going about different things.
Paratici was there under Conte. Paratici has been lauded for bringing in all these players and how much of a good job he's done.
But we have completely changed the recruitment since Conte's gone. We've gotten a sporting director. There's a bit more separation between Levy and the footballing side. We've been through this. We've been through that separation. It's been well documented. I'm not saying they're perfect and that now everything's all right. I'm just saying they have made changes since then. And I'm looking at this squad and I'm looking at the recruitment since Andrew's come in. And I'm looking at the money he's been given. I don't have a big problem with it. I don't think that is the issue why we're not in the top four right now, because of where we spent the money, or how we're spending the money, or how much we spent, and all this kind of stuff. And maybe it is a culture thing. I don't know. As I say, I'm not in all four walls of the training ground and all these different things. That there's a culture where I don't know what the problem would be. Maybe we're suggesting that the board don't care about winning. Probably not. I mean,
what big changes have they actually made?
Huh?
What big changes?
Recruitment and going in a we've said that recruitment was a big thing, and going in a different direction in terms of was Scott Munn's taken over the whole footballing operations of the club rather than that was being left open, and definitely has been a difference in how we have been recruiting for Ange Postecoglou in specific areas rather than beforehand, where it seemed to be very, very haphazard, and it was very much Conte was being brought signings which didn't necessarily fit his system, whereas definitely there's a more holistic approach for me, it seems, between how we want to play and the recruitment side of things and how much we're spending. In my opinion, I can see a difference there compared to how we were buying players under Conte to how we're buying players now. It's much better.
It's better in terms of, profiling the players for the positions that we're getting. I agree with that, and buying in positions that we need. But I still think, if we really want to go the way that Ange Postecoglou wants us to be, and challenging for titles and challenging for this and winning trophies and stuff, first of all, we need to start spending more on wages, because that's the reason that players didn't come to us in the summer, is because we weren't offering wages for the likes of Eberechi, Eze and people like that. And second of all, we need someone that can deal with tactics a bit better, because I'm not saying I want Ange out, but he needs to take a look at himself, because the way he's changing games at the moment is nowhere near good enough. And we're cheaping out on players, not in terms of transfer fees, but in terms of wages. That's where we're cheaping out on the players. And you can see that the wage bill has been dramatically cut over the last 12 months or 24 months.
Which needed to happen.
Long. Yeah, which needed to happen, but not this much, man. Not this much. We're bringing in 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds who are clearly not ready to come in and make a difference right here, right now in the Premier League. And it's the same old thing. We're looking to the future, but we're kind of neglecting the here and now.
Are we? I think we've got a good team.
To do what?
To do what we want to do, which is maybe win a trophy, Europa League.
Ange wants to win the league.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure
and if you're saying that we've got good enough players to go and win a trophy, how are we going to win a trophy if we're losing to Ipswich at home and Palace away, teams that haven't won all season? How is that good enough to win a trophy?
Yes, we also beat Villa. We also went to Old Trafford and won 3-0. Like, we lost these games.
Those results are irrelevant.
So the wins are irrelevant, but only the losses are relevant.
No, the losses outweigh the wins.
Why?
Because we're losing to teams that haven't won all season.
But
when
also
it comes
beating
down to it in the
teams,
nitty-gritty,
we're also
we're not
beating
gonna beat
teams that have been
these
away from home all season. Well,
yeah, but the losses completely outweigh these wins, completely.
Well, it depends. Well, yeah, you have to take it over a longer stretch. After 11 games, maybe you can say that. But
all right, let's take it over a longer stretch. We've lost 17 games and 17 wins since that Chelsea game at the start of last season.
Yeah, I understand that, and that it's not great. It's not great reading, but we don't draw a lot of games. So the fact that we get these wins keep us competitive. We do get a lot of wins, and we just need to, make sure that when we lose, we're only losing by the odd goal, and we're not getting battered. And when we win, we're winning big. So that is an easier fix, to make sure that when we're losing these games, that's an easier fix, and rather than thinking about when we're winning these games by big margins, that's going to turn more than those losses are going to turn. And look, we're inconsistent 100%, and we're really struggling at the moment. I don't know whether it's struggling to juggle 2 games a week, or what we're struggling with to keep that intensity up, or why we're inconsistent, but we are inconsistent. But I look at this team, I look at the players that we have, and I don't think this squad this squad is to blame for our inconsistency, if you know what I mean. Maybe it is Ange. I don't know. Maybe Ange has to adjust a few things to make sure that we can keep up the level of intensity for more than 2 bloody matches in a row. Because at the moment, it doesn't seem like we can. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe he has to change a few things. And he said that post-match. That's something I need to work out and I need to fix, because at the moment,
says that after every loss.
And it is. But I'm willing to give him time to try and figure it out. As I say, as long as we're still in a position where we're within 1 game of 3rd place, essentially, I think he's got time to figure that out. It's not like anything's getting away from us at the moment. It's not. Everything's still there for us right now. As much as we're 11 games in and it's 5 losses, it's also 5 wins, and everything is still there for us to go and get this season. Apart from the league title, nothing is beyond us at the moment. Right,
you're looking at the inconsistencies, right? If we carry on being this inconsistent, we're going to fall away very, very quickly.
The whole league is inconsistent.
Yeah, but we'll fall away very,
apart
very
from
quickly.
Liverpool and City, no one's won more than 5 games. Apart from those 2 teams.
I know that.
But, so the whole league is dropping points left, right, and centre. It's not just us. So everyone's pulling their hair out why they can't get some consistency. And I look at the way we play. Could we get consistency? Are we capable of getting consistency more readily than these other teams? The way we attack. I don't know. Maybe there's a shot that we can.
I don't know. I question it, but look, like you, I'm willing to give Ange all the time in the world, because I don't think making a manager change makes the blind bit of difference. I feel like at some point we need to stick with a project, and we need to stick with a manager. I don't think the manager is the key problem at this football club, albeit he has made some weird decisions in games, and his tactical flexibility in games to swing games in our favour in these games that we're losing is clearly not good enough. But
he's done it in games we've won.
Yeah, that's true. But that's for him to figure out in these kind of situations. I don't really have a hope that. I mean, I don't think that we can finish top 4 this season. I really don't believe so.
I bet all teams right now in and around there are probably feeling the same. They're feeling like, we're also inconsistent. We're not going to get top 4, but everyone is. And when everyone is, there's no reason why we can't.
But I look at the top 4 now: Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, and I just think, like, from a squad level, I think they're all just so much stronger than us.
I don't think they're so much stronger. I think Liverpool. Chelsea have a better attack, but I think the other positions are very much up for debate, for me, in my opinion. Midfield and
but the
defence.
tactics also swing that in Chelsea's favour, because you're saying their defence is weaker than ours in terms of a player-for-player thing, but because of the way we play our tactics, we're just so open and we just concede goals left, right and centre.
We've conceded the same amount of goals as them.
Yeah, but it'll change.
Maybe they'll concede more.
Chelsea are better than us.
I don't necessarily think they are, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think they are.
So you think we'll finish above Chelsea?
I think we'll finish above Chelsea, yeah.
I really can't see it. I really cannot see that.
Yeah, after a loss to Ipswich, it's hard to see it. I agree with you. But I still think we could do it. No, well, look, at the end of the day, it's not an international break until March, so we don't lose. And we can't lose before an international break.
Anyway, I think we went a bit off tangent there. We've been on for an hour. I think it's all about Levy and the board. But anyway, let's go into the match review. Obviously, Spurs did lose 2-1 to Ipswich yesterday in a dreadful performance. And I mean, I don't even know where to start in this game, because it was just a shit show for more or less the majority of the game. I thought maybe in the second half we came out with a bit of fight and we were creating chances, and Dom Solanke has that goal ruled out. And if that goal isn't ruled out and it doesn't flick off his hand and it goes in the back of the net, we could be sitting here talking about a draw or even a win. But I felt like as well in the first few minutes when Sonny puts in that ball for Brennan Johnson, if Brennan Johnson scores that goal, I think we're talking about a completely different game.
Agreed. And unfortunately he didn't, and it was a terrible miss. And that's not an excuse for not winning the game. But obviously, when you're playing against a team like Ipswich, who have changed the way they're playing for this game, gone to a back five, playing Davis and Ben Johnson at wing backs, gone for 3 centre-backs, an early goal completely changes up their game plan, doesn't it? And I think if we can get that early goal, break their game plan, it could be a very different story. But it's not, look, as much as we can say, if we go 1-0 up, they could have gone 1-0 up within a minute. And that set the tone for the game. Dragoshin was all at sea for that moment. Smodics is getting in ahead of, I think it was a doggy, like just sharper than him and looked more on it than him. And we could have been 1-0 behind if it wasn't for a good save from Vicario. They had 2 chances from set pieces. One chance that hit the bar, another chance that went wide from the 2 headers. One hit the bar and one went wide. So they had, for all our talk about, is our set piece problem overblown? They then have 2 chances for set pieces, and then they do go 1-0 up. And that first goal was a shit show all round. Yeah. Terrible from the wide areas to stop the cross. Terrible from Romero to not fully clear the ball with his header. Terrible from Porro to just watch the ball, and absolutely cowardly from Brennan Johnson to back out of a challenge when he knows a challenge had to be made. Absolutely cowardly. And it was a pathetic goal all round from our defence, to be honest. So many individual problems there, which Ange will have to sit down and analyse, because it was absolutely shocking from everyone how we conceded that goal. Absolutely shocking and unacceptable and inexcusable, that goal, really.
Yeah. And if we bring up the stats of the first half, I mean, this just tells a story. I mean, all the possession in the world, 67% possession, but then they're the ones creating 1.53 XG to our 0.82. 6 shots apiece, but they created 4 big chances in that first half. How are Ipswich creating 4 big chances in our stadium in that first half? And by the way, we all talk about before this game how much of a fortress this stadium is becoming. We batter Villa here, we beat Man City in the Cup, we're battering every team that come here. Then little old Ipswich haven't won a game all season, which, if everyone makes their predictions now, who's going to go down this season, everyone's probably going to put Ipswich in those 3. They're creating 4 big chances in the first half. It's nowhere near good enough.
It's terrible. Again, defensively shocking. The second goal came from a moment where we had our best chance of the half, really, and we missed it. They broke on us and they scored a second goal. Terrible breakaway. Brent Bentancur has to take him down. He doesn't. Porro then has a problem because he's got Leif Davis and Smodics running in behind. Romero's tracking Smodics. He completely leaves him. Dragoshin is keeping everyone on side. And then Vicario's wrist is nowhere near strong enough. And it forced Dragoshin and he scores an own goal. Another goal which was very, very poor all round. And for all our talk for a lot of this season, where I've been saying anyway, where as much as we have conceded sloppy goals, actually we don't concede too many chances. Well, that was definitely different in this game because Ipswich had some very, very good chances in that first half, and it was when it went 2-0, I don't think it was anything less than they deserved. They were brilliant. They defended very well for a lot of the game. They'd handled our press really effectively, and when they broke forward, they did create opportunities, whether it be from a set piece or from counter-attacks or even from just general crosses. We couldn't deal with it, and Liam Delap was giving us all sorts of trouble. Sammy Smodics on the left-hand side channel was picking up positions which we couldn't manage. I think Omari Hutchinson was brilliant on the ball. We couldn't touch him as soon as he was running at us. And for a team who, as you said, are down in 19th at the moment, I thought they dealt with us way too comfortably in that first half.
Way too comfortably. And it was like every cross that we were putting in just went into Muric's arms. And I'm sitting there in the stands, right, and I'm like, test this keeper. You need to keep testing this keeper. He's the poorest keeper in the league. We've seen mistakes week in, week out from this guy. We saw it last year as well for Burnley in the Premier League. Mistake-ridden keeper. Why are we not testing this guy more than we did yesterday? I thought that was disgraceful.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. He made a few saves, but no saves which you didn't really expect him to make, I think, throughout the game. And especially in the first half, I don't know if he made any saves. I think it was pretty comfortable. And again, our best moment of the game came from a bad pass to Muric.
It says he made 3 saves in the first half.
One from Son, I remember.
And 2 in the second half.
There was one from Son, which was a simple save. One from Solanke as well, which he made with the good chest down, and his strike was tipped around the post. I don't remember the third save, but what I would say is our best moment came from him giving ball straight to Sarr. And we didn't capitalise. And in fact, they broke and scored the second goal from it. And that's a big turning point in the game. Massive turning point. If we make use of that moment, make it 1-1 before half time, again, it's a different game. Yeah. Instead, not only is it not 1-1, but it's 2-0 to Ipswich. And cost us big time, that miss.
Yeah.
And Son was a lot to blame because we did perfectly in that moment. And then, you've got Solanke and Johnson making 2 good runs. He couldn't pick out either of them.
Yeah, and it's hard to pick out kind of any positives from that game. But the one positive that I really did see was Rodrigo Bentancur, because I think he's really keeping up his standards week in, week out. And I thought he was one of the only, if not the only player, maybe slightly with Sonny as well, that kept up those standards in this game. And if you bring up this the stats from Rodrigo Bentancur, look at that heat map. He was just absolutely everywhere in that middle of the park. It felt like he was on a one-man mission to stop Ipswich at times. If you look at the stats as well, obviously he got that goal to claw us back into the game with a bullet header from a corner. 1 shot on target, 1 shot off target, 1 shot blocked as well, 1 dribble attempt successful, 9 out of his 13 duels won, and 7 tackles and 3 interceptions as well throughout the game. So I think like when you're trying to pick out positives from this game, which probably no one wants to hear after a loss against Ipswich, I do think he was one of them.
Yeah, and I thought the last few games he's been really good. I thought he came on against Galatasaray was brilliant as well. Against Villa, against City, put in some really strong displays. So he's in a good moment. Albeit, I thought for the second goal, he has to bring down Hutchinson there. If he brings him down, just stops that moment. And I don't know whether that's just a willingness to try and win the ball and not try and do a smart tactical foul, or if he just dives in wrongly instead of standing his ground. But that had to go. He had to go down at that moment, Hutchinson. We had to bring him down. But I thought, by and large, he was our best player, and he was the one being more aggressive than anyone else. I thought he had a bit more quality of the ball than anyone else. And also set pieces. He assisted the Solanke VAR goal, and he scored the goal that got us back in the game. And I thought he was playing really, really well, to be honest.
But apart from that, I mean, no one had an outstanding display, in my opinion. I mean, we got to talk about, we've been through them in the player ratings, but Radu Dragusin, man, after a few positive displays against Aston Villa and against Manchester City now, he's put in 2 horrific displays now against Galatasaray and against Ipswich in 2 games, which are massive opportunities for him on the back of 2 positive displays. I mean, he just like went against all his strengths yesterday, didn't he? Because you're talking about Radu. What are his strengths? His strength is physicality, winning the ball in the air. And I thought he just failed massively in those kind of aspects yesterday.
And on the ball, he's just so uncomfortable, and it kind of sets the tone. It just
I think
adds
we know
nervousness.
that about Radu. What hurts me the most is his strengths, and he just didn't show any of them yesterday.
I don't think he had to too much, but I mean, in the first half, I think both goals aren't the aspects that cost us both the goals. I think
when they hit the bar,
he got bullied for that moment. He did, but those moments. Could have done better, but I don't think those are the things that cost us really. And like, for example, that moment in the first minute, again, just so awkward. He doesn't know what he's doing with the ball, and he ends up losing it, and we nearly concede from it. I think as well, it just adds that bit of nervousness around the back line. Like, people don't want to give the ball to him because they know that he's just awkward on it, and you don't back him to find his teammate like with an accurate pass.
Yeah.
And that's really, really concerning as well. From set pieces, I expect him to be a bit more of a threat. I mean, I guess some of the crosses were not good enough, and they went straight into Murich's hands. But I want to see him do something in the opposition box. He's a big fella. For Genoa, he was, a big threat in the opposition box. He hasn't been that for us yet this season, but when you're as awkward as he is on the ball, unless you're absolutely perfect defensively, there's going to be serious questions asked, and he was far from perfect defensively in this game. And following off the back of what was a really poor showing against Galatasaray, there are serious questions being asked of him at the moment. But to be fair, against Villa and against City, he did put in game those good performances in those games. So I don't want to just throw those away. But in the past 2 games, he's been terrible, and there's no getting away from that.
Yeah, he's got to get a lot better. That's the reality. But if we move on to the second half, look at the stats in the second half. I mean, we clearly did stem the tide. I mean, the damage was already done by then because we go in at half-time 2-0 down. But we did come out with a bit of maybe an extra motivation to go and get the job done because, we get that corner, Solanke puts it in. If that is allowed, then it's probably a very different game. But I felt like there was a bit of a rally from the start of the second half.
Yeah, and as you say, unfortunate the Solanke goal got ruled out. I thought we started the second half with a bit of intensity. We obviously ended up getting the goal through Bentancur as well. I think for some reason our outswinging corners were looking really dangerous, but when we were doing in-swinging corners, they went straight into Murich's hands every single time. And maybe we should have thought about just doing more outswinging corners because that was what was working. But we looked like the pressure told, and we got that goal, and we were looking. Maybe we could get back in the game, and if you got that feeling, if we got it back to 2-2, we'll win the game. But it never happened. Unfortunately, probably the best chance we had was from Solanke right in the last minute, which he has to square to Son. He has to get his head up and see where Son is. He doesn't, which is unlike Solanke. He usually does get his head up quite a bit, but he didn't in that scenario. His shot was a poor finish as well, saved by Muric and in that moment, and. We end up losing the game. And as well, what I really didn't like about us in the last 20 minutes is how naive we were with these bloody fouls. Just giving Ipswich opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to go down and feign injury and allow themselves as well to go over to Kieran McKenna and get instructions. And there was one moment where Delap has got 3 men around him. He's got Bentancur, he's got Udogie, and he's got Dragoshin. He's all alone. He's got 3 men around him, and I think it was Bentancur, just goes through the back of him and brings him down. I'm like, he's going nowhere. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He's going absolutely nowhere, and you've just given him an out. You've given him an opportunity to waste about 2 minutes, to feign injury, and to allow Ipswich a breather. And each time that happened, it just wasted another minute and another minute, and it just kept that time ticking down. And there was a moment in the corner flag, we're just giving them fouls, and we were just allowing them to kill the game and kill time. And as much as it was clever play from Ipswich, it was dumb and naive play from us. And that is not the first time that's happened this season. I mean, against Villa, we won the game, but it was happening in that game as well. Against Palace, happening in that game as well. We always buy into these teams' tricks, and whether it's because we're a young team or whatever it is, We don't know how to deal with these teams who are being too smart against us. We just allow them opportunities every time to buy these free kicks and to waste more time. And the more time they waste, the more frustrated we get. And the more frustrated we get, the more fouls we make. And the more fouls we make, it's like a circle. It's like a circular motion with these moments. And it's so frustrating to watch. Just us continuously foul the opposition when they're leading. And that's something we've really got to learn from. Well, I guess Ange said it himself. The best way to learn from that is to not give them the opportunity to time waste in terms of not giving the lead. And that's the best way to combat that. And maybe he's right.
Yeah. I thought it was really bad from Brennan. Really bad when you need your wingers to really step up and create chances. I mean, every cross he put in was just straight into Murick's arms, wasn't it? And it was so frustrating because even he had chances to get on the score sheet in the first minute. Like we said, could have been a completely different game. But and you talk about the defending for the goal as well. I mean, he put in a proper disaster class yesterday, didn't he?
Terrible. Obviously missed that chance in the early parts of the game and never got a better one really after that. And there was that moment in the second half where Bentancur played a beautiful through ball to him. What a ball that was. If you watch it back, I think he disguises it so well, Bentancur. You think he's going out wide, but he just does a defence-splitting pass right through to Brennan. And all Brennan has to do is just take it into his path and go for on goal and score. And he takes a bad touch. He forces himself out wide. He allows the Ipswich defender to get on the goal side of him. And all of a sudden, it forces Tottenham back. And that was a bad moment again from Brennan. But I can't look past the goal from him. I really can't. It's so cowardly. It really is. I can't believe he's pulled out the challenge. If you literally watch it back, you see him go towards it and then pull back when he feels like Smodics is going to hit the ball. You can't be doing that as a professional footballer when everyone should be fighting for their life for points in this league. As I said, we've seen how tight the league is. Everyone is putting their all to win points and fighting tooth and nail at the moment to stop goals and putting their body on the line. And to see Brennan do that was completely inexcusable. You've got to make sure you're getting ahead in there. You've got to make sure that you're stopping that from happening. And that goal, it cost us a goal, and we end up losing the game because of it. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. He doesn't make up for it going the other way either. So terrible day for Brendan, unfortunately.
A lot of noise about Ange now, isn't there? A lot of noise. When you're looking all over social media, or even someone, when we're doing our match reaction after the game yesterday, comes into the camera and says, Ange out. Do you see where these people are coming from? Do you understand
I understand it. I understand it. We've just lost to Palace and Ipswich, who are both winless. And as you say, we're 17 wins, 17 losses in our past 34 games. That's not a good enough record when you're comparing it to our last few years where we've been terrible, or we've been in the wilderness, shall we say, in the past few years, and we've had better records than we've got now. But this season does seem to be very different in terms of where it's a bit of a weird season, it seems, right now. Apart from Liverpool, no one is consistent. City have just got off the back of 4 defeats in a row. No one seems to be grabbing this season by the ball by the horns. Everyone seems to be very competitive. Teams like Brighton and Fulham are really stepping it up this season, and they seem to be right in and amongst it for challenging. Forest are bloody up in 5th at the moment. Bournemouth and people like Bournemouth, just got back-to-back wins against Arsenal and Man City. They're doing well. So right now, as much as it's bad, and it's the record is 16 points out of 11 games. It's a terrible record. It's not something I would have been happy with if you asked me before the season.
I mean, Nuno got sacked for 15.
Nuno got sacked for 15, but I think there are context-depending differences between Nuno and Ange. I think would play much better football under Ange. You can see more an identity under Ange, as much as when we have performances like yesterday and against Palace, then obviously you don't. But I think by and large this season, for majority of our games, you do see an identity with the team. You do see what we're trying to do. And by and large, there have been a lot of good performances this season. But when you're losing to 2 teams in the relegation zone, I mean, look, we've got 1 point out of Leicester, Palace and Ipswich. That's a massive alarm bell. That's a massive red flag. And I can understand teams, fans' frustrations with that and anger with that, because it's not good enough. And knowing Tottenham, the fear is if we're getting these results against the bottom sides, what are we going to do against the top sides? I get that. But also I know, knowing Spurs, we're just as likely to go away at Man City and win as we are to bloody lose at home to Ipswich. That's just how we are. So we have to make up those. No doubt about it. We have to make up those results, and we have to get some big wins for sure. But at the end of the day, we are 3 points off third. That is reality. And as much as we're in 10th, it's only 11 games in. There's so much football to be played, and we're only 3 points off third, and we're in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup, and we're in a good position in Europa League. We're probably going to go through in Europa League as well. We're still in the top 8 even of Europa League. So until there's some serious downturn in all those facets, I'm not Ange out yet. For sure, I'm not nowhere close to that. If by come Christmas, we're 10 points off the top 4 and we're out the Carabao Cup, and maybe we didn't finish top 8 Europa and we finished top 24 instead, and we bottled that as well, then I think there are serious questions to be asked about where we're heading and what's going on. But right now, there is still a pathway for us to achieve what we want to achieve this season, as much as how hard it is to see that after a really bad loss like we had yesterday. And it was a bad loss, terrible, massive blow to what we want to do this season. And there are serious questions. I think you would be stupid not to have serious questions right now about what's going on, especially after 5 defeats in 11 games. I think there are understandable questions, but I'm not willing to throw it away just yet.
No, neither am I. And I think we need to stick with the manager. And I've said on a number of occasions, I think he is taking us in the right direction. But these games now against Crystal Palace, second half against Brighton, and against Ipswich now are massively concerning for me, massively. And when you talk about how tight this league is, right? Our next 4 games, we go to the Etihad, we play Fulham at home, we play Bournemouth away, we play Chelsea at home.
Yeah.
They are massive games, and they are hard games as well.
They're hard, but it's a weird one with Spurs. It's like, as much as we give everyone a chance, we also have a chance against everyone, if you know what I mean. There's like no game where we're out of it, as much as there's games where we should be winning, but we've given the opposition too many chances. There's also no game where I feel like there's no chance we can get anything from that game.
The thing is the away games that gets me. I mean, we've won 1 game away from home all season, which was the last few games of Erik ten Hag. Every other away game we've pretty much flattered to deceive, and if we've had a good performance, we've still dropped points in them. Bournemouth have been absolutely brilliant at home all season. They've dispatched of Arsenal, they've dispatched of Man City. They had a really good game against Chelsea where they deserved a lot more. And if Bournemouth are going to kind of give that aggression in the game against us, I really can't see us getting more than a point in that game.
Well,
Man City away, obviously they're on the back of 3 defeats in a row in all competition, 4 in all competitions.
Started by Tottenham.
So I feel like they've been struggling massively with injuries. So it's a good time for them to have a break. So I think they'll come into it with a bit of extra motivation.
Maybe we'll have Van der Ven back by then.
I hope so. I really hope so, because we're going to desperately need him for that game. So I mean, those 2 away games are massively concerning for me. Fulham at home and Chelsea at home are also 2 big London derbies.
When you've lost Ipswich at home, every game is a massive concern now, because you've just lost to a team who are second bottom, so you can't look at any game as a given when that's happened. So as much as all these games you're reading out, you could read any. When you've just lost at home to Ipswich, any game sounds tough for sure.
Yeah, but even if we've won a few games in a row, those games sound tough.
They're all every game. I'm looking at the top 10 in the Premier League, and they're all good teams. When half the Premier League are this quality, there's going to be a lot of tough games, and everyone's going to have to play these tough games, not just us. Right now, these tough games are coming up. They're going to be tough, but as much as I feel like every game is tough, I also feel like the way we play gives us a chance in these games as well.
How many points are we getting in the next 4 games?
City away, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home. How many points are we getting? 7.
You reckon 7? Where are those 7 coming from?
I reckon we beat Fulham. I reckon we beat one of Bournemouth or Chelsea, and we get 4 points out of Bournemouth, Chelsea. Or we get out of Bournemouth, Chelsea, and City away. We get 4 points. I reckon 1 win and 1 draw out of those 3 games. I reckon.
So you're going for 2 wins, 1 draw and a loss?
Yeah.
For me, I don't think we're getting anything at Bournemouth. I don't think we're getting anything at City either. I'm going to go for 4 points. I think potentially draw at home to Chelsea, and I think we'll beat Fulham at home. I think 4 points. And if we do get 7 points, I think that's a great return from those games.
It's decent.
I think it's a really good return, and it will keep us in and amongst it. But if we do go out there and get 4 points, which is also very realistic, I mean, you will start to see it, a gap start to appear between the top 4.
Depending how the other teams do.
Yeah, obviously. But look, that is the match review. Very hard defeat to take yesterday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We have lost 2-1 at the hands of Ipswich. But let's move on. Actually, before we move on, let's go to a couple of super chats. Rich Frith says, the biggest concern I have in games we lose, there is a consistent lack of aggressiveness. He means aggression. How does Ange overcome that? How does he get them going? That's also a massive concern for me, because in those 2 games that we've lost, in our last 2 losses, there isn't any aggression whatsoever, and it just seems like the players are just not up for it.
That's, Ange prides himself on being the most aggressive and intense team in the league. And when we're lacking in those facets, we struggle 100%. And it definitely seems to be a pattern that it seems to be after Thursday night, we have a big lack of aggression when we play on Sunday. Now, is that something that Ange can identify as why that is being? Is it just a coincidence that just so happens to be on after a Thursday and it would happen anyway? That's something that Ange has got to figure out. But from what I can see, he does seem to be managing the squad, and usually on a Thursday, it's not the same players that's playing on a Sunday. So why there's a lack of aggression then on the Sunday is a bit peculiar to me. I don't really understand it. Something he's going to have to figure out. But 100%, when there's a drop in aggression, you can see a drop in performance, 100%.
Yeah. So that's Rich Frith. Thank you so much for the super chat. And there's another one here from Video Complete saying, Ange wanted Gallagher and Eze, and Levy said no due to wage costs. Levy is the reason we have awful players. I wouldn't say it goes as far as that we've got awful players, but I do believe that, Ange did want these kind of players like Gallagher and Eze. And it's true that we went for second and third choice options because of the wages. And that's also a big cause for concern.
I mean, should we have made Gallagher our highest paid
If
player?
that's what Ange wants.
So we should have.
If that's what Ange wants, that's what Ange should get. I don't care how much this one's on. I don't care how much we spend. I care about the manager getting what he wants to take us forward. And if that's what he wants, then that's what he should get.
I don't think Gallagher changes too much for us right now. Maybe Eze does. And I think Eze is definitely one I wanted. Gallagher's also one I wanted, but if he was going to be demanding to be our highest earner, I don't think he's worth that to do that, to be honest. But Eze, I think, would have really improved us, so I definitely wanted him for sure.
All right, let's move on. We're going to go to, what are we going to? Reacts. Let me just get it up 1 second. All right, let's go and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday. First up is from the Spurs Watch, saying Tottenham, whenever they have a chance to get in the top 4, are the worst football team in existence. It's so true.
It's hard to disagree with that, isn't it? Because whenever we have teams like big opportunity, I mean, it's mad to think if we win yesterday, we're third place. It is mad to think that. Like, that is it's just so Tottenham. And if you ever wanted a layup with Ipswich at home, that is just like to go third. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better game, really, apart from Southampton at home.
It's just so classic Spurs, though, isn't it? It's just so classic. Like, you go into that Crystal Palace game, and you're like, Crystal Palace haven't won a game all season. We go and lose to them. They haven't won a game since. You go and play the Man City team, who haven't lost all season. We go and win. Aston Villa, they haven't lost away from home all season. They come to our stadium, we absolutely play them off the park. We batter them 4-1. And Ipswich, of all teams, Ipswich come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, haven't won all season, and they're probably not going to win again for the next however long. They're probably going to get relegated. They come and beat us. Every time before an international break, every time where Spurs have an opportunity, they absolutely fluff their lines and bottle it. It's just classic Tottenham, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Rory talks football. Crystal Palace after 9 games without a win beats Spurs. Ipswich Town after 10 games without a win beats Spurs. That's the old Chiellini thing. It's the history of the Tottenham.
Yeah. But also, as you say, Villa hadn't won away from home, lost to Spurs. Sorry, hadn't unbeaten away from home, lost to Spurs. Man City unbeaten all season, lost to Spurs. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. Let's see what happens after the international break where we go play City, who haven't won in 4 games.
They haven't lost at home, though. Have they? I think
for a long time.
all four have been
For a long
away
time.
from home.
Yeah, for a long time.
It should be classic Spurs to go to City and win. It just would be. It really would.
Jack says some hard truths. Son is finished. I disagree. Udogie is average. I disagree. Romero plays at 50%. I do agree with that, especially over the weekend. Dragusin is the Romanian Sanchez. Well, actually, Sanchez is playing better than him at the moment. Maddison will give you 5 good games at a season at best. I mean, he didn't even get on the pitch hardly to even prove that yesterday. Ange is arrogant and completely out of his depth. Is he arrogant? I mean, he changed it just in a really bad way. Every time he's asked to change a formation or swing a game in our favour in terms of a formation change, I think it goes horribly against him. And then we'll finish bottom half of the table. I mean, hopefully not.
Yeah, I don't think these are all truths. I think these are very... Well, after a defeat to Ipswich, everyone can... Again, obviously everything looks so bad after such a result like it was yesterday. The result was that bad. I can understand the reaction to it because you're losing to second bottom at home and in the league. Like, you don't really have too many excuses for that. But all these things are just nonsense. They're just nonsense. I'm sorry, Jack. You're not talking facts at all.
And everyone goes on about Son is this, Son is that, Son is finished.
He played well.
Son is by far head and shoulders above any of our wingers in our squad. Like, nobody can.
I actually thought he looked quite sharp yesterday.
Yeah, there were times. But
that's the thing. When he's 30, well, he took 4 shots. How many more shots do you want him to take?
6, 7.
6, 7.
BLTHFC saying this is the worst Spurs performance before an international break since the last Spurs performance before an international break.
That is just Tottenham all over. Oh, God.
7 on the shirt says, I know what will cheer you up, seeing how Hell End Harry Clark celebrated his win at Spurs today towards the Spurs fans.
See that?
What a dickhead. What a dickhead. One of the only players in Premier League history to score an own goal. What was it? Score an own goal, get sent off.
Give away a penalty.
And give away a penalty. Get back in the mud, Harry.
He's got a target on his back, Harry Clark.
Spurs Connect. And it was also frustrating. So many... there was a Spurs Academy. Massimo Luongo was playing. Did Jack Clark get on the pitch yesterday?
He came on.
Jack Clark came on. And also the manager.
Kieran McKenna, former Spurs player.
Spurs boy as well.
Yeah.
So... Spurs Connect saying so frustrating seeing fans focus criticism on Ange but not the owners. Same conversation will happen in 18 months when the next manager as the scapegoat. Here's the stat: 7 managers in 5 years, disgrace. Maybe the managers are not the problem. Levy and Enoch are the problem. And that's where I stand as well.
As I've said, I've had my issues with them. I still have issues with them, but I just think the way, since Ange has come in, I just don't see a massive issue with how they've conducted themselves. That's what I'm saying.
Carly says, just quote, taking a picture of Billy T's tweet saying, being a Spurs fan is like having a terminal disease where you don't even get to die at the end. So true,
literally forever going on this being a Spurs fan.
Forever in pain, man.
I've been diagnosed with being Spurs.
Oh, God. Oh, I feel sorry for you, man. Spurs Express saying Tottenham have failed to win their last 3 Premier League fixtures that came off the back of a midweek Europa League fixture, and that was Brighton, Palace, and now Ipswich.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about. I guess it's Europa League, but when we're also before an international break, I don't know what it is like. Maybe players feel like they can just doss it off, like because they're going off for their country for 2 weeks and they don't have to deal with the consequences. But it's just every time it seems to happen.
It's a mentality issue at this club, and there has been for a very long time. And it's like, no matter who the player, the manager, or whoever it is, it just seems to rear its ugly head way too often. Mari says Son should try this more often. Come on, Sonny. And yeah, he should.
No, but he had about 3 attempts like that yesterday.
Did he?
Yeah.
I only remember this one.
I remember he had 2 more, which you didn't remember them because they flew over the bar and they were terrible efforts.
CJ says, Levy out, Ange in. Did the same with Conte, Mourinho and Poch. Will continue to do it with every promising manager until they're gone.
I understand the reaction. I understand obviously it plays into the narrative. I'm not saying he's done everything great. I'm just saying I do see a difference with how they've operated since Ange has come in. That's all I feel. And when Conte, Mourinho, and especially the back end of Poch, I had massive frustrations with where things were going and what they were doing. But Conte, when Conte exploded that day, and since the end of that season, they did change things a bit. And I don't know whether it's a fact it's going to take time to notice it, or I don't know what it is, but I don't think changing the ownership would have made too much of a difference from that point.
The point is about changing the ownership, though. It's just like,
It's never going to happen.
first of all, it's never going to happen, and second of all, like, you don't know what's coming next either.
Yeah,
Could
exactly.
be even worse.
I just find it a boring conversation, to be honest.
I mean, it's a conversation we haven't had in a long time.
True, and we have kind of laid off them a bit
Yeah.
for 18 months or so, which I think, you want to see how things play out, and the fact that it's not at the moment, as I say, at the moment it's not going well. People are going to start talking about it again. I just don't find it an interesting conversation.
But I think it's quite rightly so. I mean, when you're playing in this kind of stadium and you got in terms of wages, I think we're sitting like in mid-table or something in terms of the wage bill.
I don't know.
I think we're in the top end of the top half or something in terms of wage bill. If I'm right, maybe I'm wrong on that. But
I mean, before the summer, I think we were like 6th.
yeah, and we massively reduced it.
Yeah, we did.
So we dropped down quite significantly.
who would be high? Maybe Villa have overtaken us. I can't think of anyone else.
I mean, I can get it up in a second, or maybe we'll get into it after Reacts. But I feel like we have dropped down a lot. And when you're talking about playing in this kind of stadium, producing the revenues that this club produce, I mean, we should be sitting near the top in terms of wages and bringing in the Ezes and these kind of players that that could really take us onto the next level. In terms of players that we brought in the summer, which players are you saying that these are the guys that can really take you onto the next level? I mean, Solanke has fitted in like a glove. He's a really good player, and I'm really happy with him. But apart from that, I don't think any of the players you could say, these are really players to take us onto the
We
next
don't know
level.
yet.
Yeah, because it's going to take time for 18-year-olds to adjust. We're talking about a long time down the line. And that's what I was saying before about we don't bring in players.
But we weren't doing that before.
Yeah.
We weren't
did
thinking
it.
of the future.
Yeah, but we need to think about the here and now.
But we have
and
here
bring,
and we
and
have
bring
good players. But we have good players.
We don't have players that can catapult us into a title.
No,
charge.
we don't. But we have players that can definitely compete for a Europa League, definitely compete for cups, and definitely compete for top 4.
Ange wants to win the league.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's probably not going to happen in 2 seasons.
And if you want to fight, or at least like solidify your place in the top 4, you need to sign players that are going to command big wages, and we don't do that.
Well, because we've been burnt with that before. Look, it depends who it is. It may be an Eze, you can say that would have demanded it, but Conor Gallagher giving him 250 to 300 grand a week, I don't think is the smart thing to do.
Prof Spurs saying, I know you're going to hate me for this, so this one time it's a free pass to call me a total C. But Spurs are now 3 points off third with the second best goal difference in the Premier League. Maybe the league is a little bit chaotic. I
think there is something to that. I mean, as much as we've lost 5 games, the league is very chaotic. And I actually cast my mind back to I want to see if I'm right, because I remember when in Poch's last season, when we got to the Champions League final, like halfway through the year, we had lost something like 9 games. Yet we were in the 18-19 season. Like if I go to like match day like 19 or something. Let me see this. Yeah, we had lost. Oh no, it was only 4 games, was it? No, what was it? Match day? Maybe I'm talking about a bit later. Like we had lost quite a few games, like halfway through the season, but because we hadn't drawn any, it meant we were still right up there. And I think the fact that we don't draw kind of helps us a bit, because we do either win or lose, and those 1 points don't suffer from, and that will help us in such a chaotic season. But yeah, I mean, look, as much as that's true, it's still not good enough to lose these games against Ipswich and Palace, and not win against Leicester as well. That's obviously not good enough, and that's a massive red flag. But if we can make up for it in other games where you don't expect us to get points, which Tottenham can do, then it won't be as bad. But I think the league is definitely. I think no one can deny the league is very chaotic this season.
Yeah, I just feel like the quality in the Premier League is just so high. You look at the top 10 teams in the league. There's not a bad team there, is there?
Yeah, and they've all got good managers as well.
And you look back to when Spurs were finishing in the top 2, top 3 under Pochettino. I mean, that wasn't the case. And you had a lot of teams kind of like off it at that moment in time, with your Man Cities and people like that.
I think that was the case in his like early years, but once it was a couple of years down the line, I don't think that was the case.
After when we started dropping down the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, yeah.
Tadarius
But he still
Tadu
finished fourth.
says Vic be like scolding Radu, and then suddenly sees Son and is, I have to show love to my captain too.
Good old Vic. But he loves a
Points
good
to Radu
scolding.
and say, you're a dickhead.
Right, yeah, I mean, Radu's got to step up, man. He has to step up. I don't know what moment. I think this must be leading up to the second half, maybe, when the teams are out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it ended the game.
Invert the Wing says liability defensively cannot even offer anything going forward anymore. Been absolutely terrible this season. A total passenger. Pedro Porro has created one big chance in the Premier League this season, and for someone of his quality, the amount of goal contributions he got last season, that is nowhere near good enough. And I kind of agree with this.
I don't agree with it totally, but I do think he's dropped off this season. It's not as good as he was. I think last season was brilliant. This, what was it? 4 goals and 7 assists, I think it was.
That was his first assist.
That was his first assist. I mean, for a player of Porro's quality, it's not good enough.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't think he's been as bad as what he's saying in terms of defensively. But again, I think he was better defensively last season than he was this season.
Yeah,
he's definitely not been as good.
Now Spence is fit though. Like, I would actually drop Porro and put Spence in for the City game.
I wouldn't do it for the City game, but maybe if he has a bad game against City, I'll do it.
StatMuse, Brendan Johnson versus Ipswich, just zeros across the board, and all he did was cardio.
And he bottled that challenge. Not going to forgive him for that.
Yeah, one challenge bottled. Davina THFC says, sum up that game in one picture. And there you have it. All the Spurs players looking very depressed.
Except for Romero, who seems to be walking off fine. Always plays into that narrative, bloody Romero. Yeah. He had to do a bloody smiling picture after the game as well when he's with Argentina. I mean, I didn't like that at all. Just at least wait a day. Why on that night? We've just lost a big embarrassing game. You've had a bit of a stinker and you're posting a smiling selfie like, oh, international duty, international vibes, great.
This is what he lives
it's like,
for,
come on,
Kuti. Hotspur reports saying Tottenham's last 6 Premier League games, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss.
Yeah, the inconsistency is maddening, isn't it?
Yeah,
you just can't ever know, you can't ever get comfortable with Tottenham. You think you've turned a corner, and then
that's the thing. 2 step forward. I mean, 1 step forward, 2 step back. I mean, it's just so frustrating. It's like you go to Old Trafford and win, great, lose to Brighton after being 2-0 up at half time. Next game, smash West Ham off the park. Go lose to Crystal Palace in an abject display, worst display of the season. Aston Villa, you absolutely played them off the park. They haven't lost their way from home all season. And then you put in your worst display of the season against Ipswich at home after everyone says it's a fortress. I mean, this up and down nature is doing none of us any good.
No, absolutely
none
not.
of us.
Absolutely not.
Spurs Army saying Ange Postecoglou reacts to a fan shouting at him as he walks down the tunnel at half-time.
Yeah, I'm watching this because I don't know if you can hear what the fan is saying. I've tried to listen. I don't know.
The first time that Ange has snapped back at a fan, is
I mean, but he hasn't. It's not snapping back, is he? What's he done, really? He's just looking.
Stands there and gives him the stare.
But no, he's just looking who said it. I don't think he's even staring. I think he's looking to see who said it. He couldn't see. I think it was very different to the last one against City, where he literally, I can't remember what he said, but he went at someone.
Yeah.
So I think people saying, I mean, he reacted. All he did was look and see who said it. Maybe he would have reacted if he saw them, but I don't even know what was said. Maybe he was saying, oh, you're a C word, and then he should react.
Yeah. Ricky TFC says only Tottenham could go into a game needing a win against Ipswich to sit 3rd in the Premier League before an international break and land up in 10th spot.
Yeah, I know. It's just mad. It's just mad. But it also, again, plays to the fact that the league is so tight. It is so tight. And in one win, and all of a sudden things look very different.
Yeah.
But when you're not being...
At some point, teams are going to show consistency. And at some point...
And maybe they would say the same about us.
Yeah, they will be saying the same as us, but I feel like there are teams with better quality that, will get that consistency.
I don't know. I think we got as much quality as anyone else we're competing with.
Stokey G says, beat Man City and Villa, lose to Ipswich and Palace. This is Tottenham heritage.
Yeah, it's just classic Tottenham. We all know this will be another one to add to the list of how the times we've had a terrible result, then follow up with a great result, and followed up with a terrible result.
Let's just hope we can follow it up with a great result after this. Rizzler says he exists, he is real. And that is Dr. Tottenham rearing its ugly head again.
Someone take away his medical degree, for God's sake.
I was saying sack the guy, man.
God,
Just sack.
who is still going to see this guy? Who gives him money
now?
For God's sake,
This
Dr.
guy
Tottenham
needs to be relieved of his duties, man.
It's just
Horrific,
terrible.
man. Horrific. Spurs Web says Tottenham's last 5 games before an international break have all resulted in losses. Where is it going wrong? So that was the Chelsea game, the Fulham game, the Newcastle game, the Brighton game, and the Ipswich game. I mean, all of them. I mean, Chelsea game when we lost 4-1, that was actually we actually put in a fairly good display that day, but we got 2 men sent off. The Fulham game, the Brighton second half, and the Ipswich game were all shocking performances.
Yeah, terrible. I don't know what it is just before an international break. We just can't seem to. I don't know what it is. I mean, why could that be an excuse for anything that we're going on international duty? But it seems to be some sort of correlation that anytime we're about to go away, we lose.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why does that keep happening?
Alex CHFC saying won 17, drawn 5, lost 17 since the Chelsea game around this time last season. I mean, that is a shocking record, man.
It is.
17 losses.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good, but there is 17 wins there.
Memorino is saying Spurs bin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, a player in Robin Hood is going to...
Exactly. We take from the rich and give to the poor.
Take to the rich and give
That's
to the
what we
poor.
do. That's what we're for the good of the league. God.
George Achilles saying Dr. Tottenham needs to be studied at Cambridge and Oxford.
Literally. He needs to be giving lectures, Dr. Tottenham. I want to know what his secrets are.
Seb Martin saying really angry at him, but fully behind him. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Like, I am really angry with some of the decisions. I was absolutely fuming. I'm still fuming now for the performance yesterday. But I don't see it like what good it will do sacking him.
I mean, who do we even look at? If let's say we go on a terrible run, we lose the next 5 games. Who do we even look at?
I saw a tweet last night being like, "Get Graham Potter in now."
Graham Potter? What? Like as if that would be a massive
another failed
improvement.
Chelsea manager. Bring him in.
God, we don't who would unless we're convincing Nagelsmann to leave Germany. Who are we looking at? Who are we looking at? Tuchel's gone.
Amorim's
gone. Who are we looking at? I don't know who we're looking at. Unless we're giving it Mason again till the end of the season. Give it Mace. Magic Mace. I don't know who we're looking at.
I'm trying to think of managers that we could. Nuno's doing a good job.
Nuno, yeah, bring Nuno back.
I've seen a few people say Thomas Frank.
I think maybe one we might look at is Iraola from Bournemouth.
Yeah, but no, I don't forget this conversation. We ain't looking for a new manager. Ange is here.
But that's the point. If for all these people saying sack Ange, I don't think they would be happy with anyone we're talking about to replace him.
Exactly. We'll sack Ange, bring in Southgate, something like that.
God.
Lily White Lab saying Bentancur is not a lone pivot, never will be, doesn't have the temperament, just charges around and dives in time and time again, leaves massive gaps.
I think I was harsh on his performance. I do agree that the second goal, he should have stopped it at source. But I think by and large, he was our best player on the day. I don't think he was the problem.
Yeah, but also he was our best player because he kept up some sort of standards where everyone else was just shocking.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Paddy Power says, honestly, all jokes aside, how do Tottenham fans even get through the day?
I don't, mate. I don't know how we're still here.
I've been asking myself this for a very long time.
At least Paddy Power gets it. They can understand how we're feeling. I'm 100%.
Paul O'Keefe saying, this isn't new. The history of Enix Tottenham frauds, the lot of them. It's perpetual cycle of promises and nothingness. I simply can't buy into them anymore. It's boring.
I understand that.
Jack Pitbrook says Spurs' ability to follow up a good moment or week with their worst performance of the season is just unmatched. Whenever they look like they've turned a corner, they turn back the other way. This is the history of the Tottenham, man.
Yeah, I can't think of another team who can just go from up here to down there within Like, it wasn't even a draw. We lost. You know what I mean? Even if it's a draw, it's a step backwards, but at least we take a point. We can't even do that.
A loss is just absolutely disastrous, and that's what I was saying before. Like, I can't take this up and the highs are up there and the lows are down here, all in the space of a week. I mean, it's just too much, man. It's just too much. Lily White Rose says, knock Man City out the cup. Win 3-0 at Old Trafford, smash Villa 4-1, but lose to Ipswich and Palace, giving them their first wins of the season. That is the definition of Spursy.
Honestly.
Tapping Tobe says, don't tell me this team aren't inconsistent. Not a single Spurs fan who doesn't hide behind the stats will be surprised by that result. It's exactly the sort of spineless performance, the result we're accustomed to. Chance to go third or fourth, weaker team at home, off the back of playing a big win last week. Utter embarrassment of a side. Players and manager are completely inconsistent. Again, absolutely spot on. And you know what? In the build-up to this game, I firmly thought we were going to win the game. But in the conversations that I was having with people, I was like saying, you know, this is just a classic Dr. Tottenham game, isn't it? Before the international break, on the back of a really good win, after a Europa League game. It was just classic Dr. Tottenham.
Also, I feel like Ipswich, yes, they're near the bottom, but I also think like they didn't get a lot of the credit some of the other performers. Like they went to Brighton and got a 0-0 draw. Like they drew with Villa 2-2 as well. They were getting some decent results against decent teams, and maybe we underestimated them.
Yeah.
Well, we clearly did because we lost.
Yeah. Spurs Express saying when Spurs, when they have the chance to gain ground on the teams above them before the international break.
We're bloody Derby, 100%. Honestly,
Derby 07-08, literally the worst Premier League
that's
team in
literally
history.
who we become. And it's like Tottenham when you've given up all hope, it's like bloody 2010 Barca. That's what it is.
It's madness, isn't it? Like, there's no team in the world like this, like Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, this is Spurs.
Ben Bowman says, bloody hell, Tottenham, dreadful first half. Would probably bring Maddison on, although it's Sarr who's been nipping in there, winning the ball back when we've turned it over. Right-hand side has been really poor. Kulusevski has not been anywhere near it either. And Dragoshin, ...
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, Dragoshin, there's big question marks about him. Yeah. Big question marks.
Dan Kilpatrick says there feels a strong chance Spurs will respond here to win comfortably as they did against Aston Villa a week ago, but consistently having to recover from a goal down is not sustainable indefinitely, and eventually they'll get a game like Wolves last February where they come unstuck, and this most definitely had that feeling towards it, and obviously what happened.
Yeah, and you know, conceding that second goal was obviously a massive killer, but why do we keep starting so slow at home? I just don't understand. We're always in that first half chasing our tails, and I don't get it.
No context Tottenham. Dr. Tottenham watching the game yesterday.
Here's your Medicaid, your prescription.
Exactly.
3 points.
BLTHFC saying 58% pass completion from Dragoshin today. That's more concerning than the defending, which is in part due to a non-existent midfield. Always rushes his passes and headers with zero pressure. Doesn't help calm down the team.
Agreed with that. That's the thing. It adds a level of nervousness. This is from the Galatasaray game.
Oh, is it?
It's the same though. It could have easily been from Ipswich.
I would have gone off forever. We probably wouldn't have realised as well. We probably wouldn't have realised.
Yeah, but also there's another tweet which is referencing the Galatasaray game, but I think it's relevant here. I do think he should have brought Lancashire on, just thrown him in there, and because we were swinging in crosses, and it was only Solanke we're aiming at. If we had, I'm not saying he comes on and we definitely win. I'm just saying he's another physical presence.
But what would that have done anyway when all the crosses are going straight into the keeper's arms?
Well, it gives them something else to think about, and it gives us another physical presence
to think
in there.
about when all the crosses go.
They
into
weren't.
keeper's
We had
arms.
some good crosses. Werner was putting in some good crosses, and Porro was as well. It wasn't all straight into the keeper's hands. You only remember those because those are the most frustrating ones. There are some
It did
where
happen a lot of times.
it did happen a few times, but there's also some where they actually put into good areas and the defenders are gobbling up. I think if you get Lancashire there with Solanke, I think that's another option to aim at. And when you're chasing a goal like that late in the game, I think we're better off having Lancashire there than having Son in the 10.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But that is how the internet did react to the game yesterday. We're going to move on and go to the 5 takeaways, see what 5 things we did take away from this one. Number 1 is scheduling struggles.
And this is off the back of yet another loss, which has come after a Thursday night Europa League game. We lost the last two against Palace and against Brighton. So Brighton we lost just after playing Ferencváros away. We went and lost 3-2. RZ then was preceded by a loss away at Palace, and now the 3-2 loss to Galatasaray has followed a 2-1 loss to Ipswich. And I'm not saying that those are the reasons for the loss, but it also can't be discounted that we are struggling to deal with Thursday and Sunday at the moment. I don't know whether it's something we can figure out during the season or something that's going to plague us for the whole season. We've seen it before with teams. We're not the first team to struggle with it, are we? So, I mean, it's not something that is like a new problem for teams in the Premier League, but it's also not something that we should be alien to. A lot of these players should know what it feels like to play 2 games a week. But then
Should they?
I guess I say that. I mean, Bentancur should. Romero should. Porro has been playing Champions League a lot.
But Romero isn't even playing Thursday. He played, one game in the Europa Leagues for us so far?
I'm just saying, as a squad, I guess the travel time and all that kind of stuff takes its toll. We didn't get back to London until Friday morning at 2 a.m. So I kind of understand.
Where did we sign Romero from?
Atalanta.
Okay, fair. So he must have been playing European football.
But he's played European football for us. Conference League, and he played and he played Champions League.
Apart from that, I'm looking at the team that played against Galatasaray. How many of them have played European football? Sonny, Ben Davis, who else? Not many of them.
But it's not Thursday. It's not Thursdays when we're struggling. It's on the Sunday.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So when
it's the same thing though.
But why can't we handle at the moment playing Thursday, Sunday? There's definitely an issue there, and it's not even game management because I guess we do bring players over, so even if they don't play, they're still having that travel time. But still, that's not an excuse. Why are we struggling on those Thursday to Sunday games at the moment?
I don't understand. What is the difference between Thursday, Sunday, and Wednesday, Saturday?
There isn't really.
What is the difference? Why does it seem to make so much of a difference? Because we play on Wednesday against Man City, and then we play the 12:30 kickoff, don't we?
But that's something. If you look at Villa's results, that's also something they're struggling when they go Wednesday, Saturday. They're struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah,
they've also lost they've dropped points in their last 3 games. But why?
But what I'm saying is
because we're resting players.
In that Man City to Villa game, that was probably the least amount of changes that we've made from midweek to the weekend, and we smashed both games out. And then when we make all the changes, we seem to be struggling more. It just makes no sense.
I agree. Obviously, the Villa that period was we had one extra day, but maybe
wasn't Villa on a Saturday.
It was Sunday, no?
Was it Sunday?
Was it on a Sunday?
Oh, it was 2 o'clock Sunday. Yeah, you're right. I thought it was the 12:30 game. That was the West Ham game.
But still, maybe we should be try and keep a consistent lineup, and maybe that consistency will help. I don't know, but
then
but when you're playing the Premier League, when you're in the Premier League, you're going from week to week as a consistent lineup. You're not losing consistency just because you're resting players on a Thursday. Surely, I don't know. But there clearly is an issue with us playing Thursday, Sunday at the moment.
Yeah, and it's there for all to see. Number 2 is battling Bentancur.
Yeah, and I think he was the one, if you were to single out a player who did all right yesterday and probably deserves some credit, is Bentancur. I mean, his numbers are pretty strong. 9 out of 13 duels won, 3 interceptions, 7 tackles, which is a monstrous number. He assisted Solanke's goal, which got ruled out as well, unluckily, and he also obviously scored the goal, which got us back in the game at 2-1. And if it wasn't for Bentancur, probably could have been a lot worse. So, yeah, he deserves some credit, Bentancur, for his performance. And I think he's, been in decent form recently.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I remember turning round to Amir at some point, I think even during the first half, the latter stage of the first half, saying Bentancur was the only one that's coming out with credit so far. I really enjoyed his performance, battling Despele. When you talk about a lack of aggression, he definitely didn't have that. He was definitely one of the outliers in that situation. So I commend Bentancur. I just wish some of the other players had that mentality that Bentancur has, because I thought he showed it in abundance on the weekend. So big up to Rodrigo. It's just a shame none of the other players had that. Number 3, slow start again.
13 of our past 15 games at home we've conceded first, and albeit a lot of them we have been able to come back and win, which, you know, that stat that, you know, we do come back and win a lot of these games. You can't keep going behind the way we do, and I don't know whether it is like we just feel like we can outlast teams, so we'll just turn it on in the second half and win the game, or whatever it is. But look, it's just there for all to see. For all these home games, we are starting slow and we are giving the opposition the advantage, and it's going to catch up with you at some point, and it did yesterday. And I don't know why we can't seem to turn it on in the first half or start well in these games.
Yeah.
Even go back to last season, remember, like Burnley and Luton, going behind in those games as well. We turned it around. But
wasn't that an issue under Conte as well? Like, where we just came on strong in the second half.
Yeah, but
we were really poor in the first half.
We wouldn't turn it around. We would like lose. we would lose 2-1 instead of like turning it around.
But it's still like it's a similar thing though, where we were poor in the first half and then good in the second.
In
half.
the Conte second season, yeah, it was definitely.
So I mean, like,
but it's a different team, so I don't know how much we can say it's the same problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But you know, it wasn't sustainable, and that showed yesterday. Like, you can't just keep going behind and expect to claw it back every single time. You can maybe claw it back the majority of times, but there'll be times you come unstuck, and yesterday was one of them. Mm-hmm. Next up, number 4 is Robin Hood.
And this is Tottenham being the Robin Hood of the Premier League, taking from the rich and giving to the poor. We've beaten the likes of Aston Villa. We beat Man City in the Cup. We beat Man United at Old Trafford. And then we drew with Leicester. We gave Palace and Ipswich their first wins of the season. I mean, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I wonder when the first time that someone has given 2 teams their first wins of the season. I wonder when the first time that's been this season. I bet you it was Tottenham, but I don't know. I mean, last season we were really consistent.
Someone
against the
pull out that stat, please. I want to know who I want to know who it was. It's got to be Tottenham.
Last season, I think we won every game against all the teams in the relegation zones. But this season, for these 3 games, we haven't played Southampton yet, but losing to Palace, losing to Ipswich, and drawing with Leicester, and that is big alarm bells.
When's the last time that we did lose to a promoted team? Because haven't we usually been really good against promoted
we
sides?
are. No, usually very good. I don't know. Last time we lost to a promoted team, because last season we didn't, I think.
Was Southampton a promoted side when we beat them? When we lost them 3-0 under Conte?
No, I don't think so. No. They weren't. We didn't lose 3-0. We drew 3-0.
3-0. It felt like a 3-0
yeah,
loss.
Felt like a loss. The last time we lost... maybe when Burnley beat us under Conte, maybe?
Burnley beat us under
Maybe,
Conte.
I don't know. I don't know if they were promoted side back then. Maybe not, actually.
Didn't we lose 1-0 to Burnley at home under Poch? Or was that 1-1?
I don't think we lost them at home under Poch. Don't remember that.
I can't remember. But anyway, that's what we are. And it's very frustrating. Fifth and final takeaway is the tight table.
And however bad it looks at the moment, at the end of the day, we only are 3 points off third. I mean, from the same token, you could say we're only 6 points off 16th. So as much as things can go very well very shortly, it can also go very badly very shortly as well.
1 point off 13th.
1 point off 13th, and we're 3 points off third. So the league is so tight that any result can either result in massive hope or also crisis mode. Mm-hmm. And it's a very interesting dynamic at the moment, because you could be 3 points off third yet you're in crisis, and then also you could also be in a position where you're not far off 13th and maybe you think you're doing well. It's just a very interesting season at the moment. But all the point is as much as however bad it seems right now, all is not lost. And if we can get a few unexpected results, all of a sudden you're right up there again.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's so hard to just look at that after the performance and the result we did have yesterday. They are creeping in quite regularly over the past month or so. So, look, we've got to dust ourselves off, see how we respond after the international break, but it's not going to be easy. City away, probably the hardest game in the Premier League calendar.
Bring them on.
We got next. So it would be classic Spurs to go there and win.
The deck he had.
It would be classic Spurs to go there and win, but I mean, I've just got, after yesterday, I'm just so depressed. Like,
you got 2 weeks to spew over it.
I mean, I'm more depressed like after this result than I was after the Palace game, and I was so depressed after the Palace game. So I just thought like we were building a fortress here at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I really believed that. And to see that performance and that result against Ipswich was just so hard to take. It really was.
Don't disagree.
And it just brings so many questions. And I feel, as much as we're only 3 points away from third, like I feel we're looking down more than we're looking up, which is very frustrating because before this game, I was very much looking up.
Oh, I'm looking up still.
Yeah, well, good on you, mate. Good on you. But that is the 5 takeaways from the game against Ipswich. We're going to finish off on a Tottenham update. We've got a few transfer tidbits to talk about. First up, we're going to talk about what Alistair Gold was talking about, a new goalkeeper. And he says that Tottenham are more than likely to sign a new goalkeeper in the summer to provide competition or backup for Vicario. Spurs could even end up making a move in January if the right opportunity was to present itself. And I think it's needed. Fraser Forster will be leaving at the end of the season. You've got Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman there, but Ange clearly doesn't think they're good enough because he never gives them opportunities, albeit Brandon Austin did get that new contract. But I feel that was just to make quota numbers. So, yeah, I do think we need a new keeper.
Definitely. I mean, you're definitely. I mean, if Vicario was out for any extended period of time, that'd be a big concern for us. Forster's just not good enough. He's not good enough with his feet. He's slow when he gets out down to either side. Unless something is straight at him, he doesn't usually save it. Luckily, he's a big bloke, so a lot of things are straight at him. But if you got anything, it goes to the side of him. He struggles, and I think that's not good enough. What we want. If we get a keeper in January, I'd cancel his contract and I would get a set keeper. That's what I would do. Obviously, if we can pre-sign a keeper for the summer and have Forster to the end of the season is what it is. I mean, I'm willing to accept that, but I think definitely a young backup who could compete with Vicario, but also you're not worried about him coming in cup games and things like that. I definitely think is needed.
Fijajes are reporting that Tottenham are monitoring Brighton's midfielder Carlos Baleba ahead of a potential move in the summer. The Cameroonian international has established himself as a main man in Hertz's midfield this term, with 2 goals and 2 assists already in the competition so far. I mean, I think we have spoken about Baleba on a previous Tottenham update. I mean, I just can't see this one being something that Spurs can get over the line, especially with Cardozo coming in, hopefully in the summer, which I think that will get done. Baleba's been brilliant, though, this season.
He is, but Brighton will probably command 100 million for him, knowing Brighton, so we're not going to spend that money on him. Midfield, I think at the moment is not the biggest issue as much as you could always look for improvements, and Baleba, from what I've seen from him, would be a big asset to us. And maybe we could use that ability, but as you say, Cardozo's there, Sarr's still improving, Decky's now a central midfielder, so I don't see us spending big money on someone like Baleba when we could get Cardozo with his signing on his set fee. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, Baleba for north of 80 million or Cardozo over 25 million, I mean, you know which one they're going to get. That's for sure.
Graham Bailey says that Brighton's Facundo Buonanotte, who is currently on loan at Leicester, has now emerged as a subject of interest for Tottenham, with the club willing to fight to ensure they win the race for his signature. A Spurs bid is currently being prepared, with the Seagulls apparently willing to let the 19-year-old leave for a fee of 50 million euros, 41 million pounds, amid interest from several other clubs, including current employers Leicester. And I actually think Buonanotte is a really good player. I've really enjoyed his performances this season for Leicester. He's been one of the shining lights for them. And I think he could be a good player for us, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where he fits in, because
right wing,
competing with Brendan on the right. I mean, he's young, which is I thought he was a bit older than that. So he's still a teenager, and you're right, he's done very well. I actually thought even for Brighton he did quite well when he was given opportunities, but they weren't as many as he's been for Leicester, and he's been very good for Leicester. He's got a great left foot, very intricate little player. I don't know if he's got the pace to play a winger in our system, but maybe there is a place for him in terms of he's just a different option, isn't he?
I really like him.
But does he? Well, I wonder if he'd be more of like fitting where Decky plays rather than on the right. That's what I'm thinking potentially.
Yeah.
But I think he could be a good option. But I think he's going to go back to Brighton, to be honest.
Probably. Transfers.com, not the most reliable, reputable source. They say Tottenham have been in touch with the representatives of Jack Grealish.
Here we go.
Over a possible January move. The club sporting director, Johan Lang, was instrumental in the transfer that took Grealish to Man City during his time at Aston Villa. The winger remained especially appreciative of how Lang handled the move, helping it to go as smoothly as possible, as the pair have maintained a really good relationship since. There is no chance in hell Spurs are signing Jack Grealish. No chance in hell. The guy's on what, like 300k a week or something crazy like that.
The only way is if they're desperate to get rid of him and they do a Sancho type or a Sterling type
they
deal.
pay like 80% of his wages.
Yeah, that's the only way it happens, because we ain't paying all his wages. We're not paying a big fee as well. I think obviously I'd like him. I think him and Son on the left wing, and then cancel Werner's loan. I wouldn't mind that. Or as well, he can play in the Madison role on that left number 8 as well. Gives us a few options. But I think he would fit in well at Tottenham. But he's also he's got a lot of injuries at the moment. And City have a lot of injuries. I don't know if they can afford to lose him. So don't think so for me.
Yeah, I don't think something like that happens in January or in the summer. But yeah, I think it would be interesting if City were kind of open to subsidising the wages. I'm just trying to see when.
I reckon he goes back to Villa.
2027.
Maybe he goes back to Villa.
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised. They could do with a left winger.
2027 is his contract.
So he's got 2.5 years.
Next up, Inter Live claim that Inter Milan's Jan Bissek has ended up on Tottenham's radar. With the risk of losing Romero next summer, Tottenham is said to be searching the market for his worthy replacement. The report states that Bissek has been identified as a target. Bissek's profile matches Spurs' requirements. The report further states that they are willing to pay 30 million euros for the player. Inter, led by their president Giuseppe Marotta, are looking to offer him an improved deal. And Tutto Sport say that Inter would find it difficult to reject 40 to 45 million euros bid from a top Premier League side for Bissek next summer. That would mean Tottenham would have to offer 10 million more euros to sign the German. And apparently he's a player that's really come to the fore for Inter Milan this season.
Well, I think he played against Arsenal in midweek and he was brilliant. He was absolutely fantastic and he really impressed me in that game. I haven't seen much of him, but I was watching him in that game and he was like a proper monster, and he was also very good on the ball. So, look, I think when it comes to Romero, the reality is right now, when you're looking at the situation, he hasn't been pulling up many trees this season, if we're all honest with each other. And he's been costing us goals. There's all these rumours flying around about him leaving, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's a long season, and that we might feel differently at the end of the season to how we do now. But how we do now is, if he does leave, we have to look at the future. We have to always stay on top of it. And if he isn't committed to the future of the club, then we have to look at moving him on and signing a replacement. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how we should operate. We shouldn't hang on to players who don't want to be here. That's fair. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying if it was to be the case, then we shouldn't hang on to him. So having contingencies is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's like when a player wants to leave Spurs, like we make it so hard for them to leave. When you look at a player that doesn't want to be at Man City anymore, maybe Bernardo Silva is a bit of an exception to that rule because he seems to be wanting to leave every summer and ends up staying. But I don't genuinely believe he does want to leave. But if someone wants to leave Man City, they're like, all right, off you go. Like, we'll just find someone else. That's how big clubs operate.
Given Dragous's performances of late, do you still think we don't replace Romero if we sell him?
I mean, I think both of them should probably leave. I think that was the plan, though, when we signed Dragusin, for him to be the heir to Romero's place in the team. I do think that's why we signed him.
Do you think he's up to it?
No, I don't. Like I said, but it depends who the manager is. Like, if the manager's Ange Postecoglou, then no, I think it's a complete profile mismatch. But if it's a different manager, you never know. If it's in a different system, he could do a lot better. I don't think he's a bad player.
No, he's not a bad player. I think he's had a bad... People forget his good games. You know, he had a good game against City and Villa. Played well. Yeah. And because he's had two stinkers, now we're like, he's terrible. But he's not terrible.
Yeah. Radu's agent, Florin Manea, has been speaking once again.
Oh, here we go.
And he admits that his client is happy now at Spurs. He says he's focused on the rest of the season. He wants to do well with Tottenham. He's talking about the potential rumours with Juventus. He says, I learn about it from the Italian newspapers. I honestly don't know anything about it. With Juventus, as far as I'm concerned, there's been no contacts. As always, the final say with these cases will be up to the club where he belongs to, but the boy is happy here at Tottenham.
I mean, he's playing recently. He's obviously playing in Europa League and stuff.
These comments, by the way, were before this game.
Ah, very nice. So he's happy with how he's playing? I don't know. Look, it doesn't surprise me that the situation's settled now. He's getting a bit more game time, but we'll see what happens. I was actually thinking about this the other day. You were saying how must it feel for Dragoshin to feel like it doesn't matter how he plays, he's always going to be dropped for Romero and Van de Ven. But is that true? Because you look at the Maddison situation, Decky's come in and he's stolen that spot, hasn't he?
True.
And Maddison's one of the vice captains, and he's one of the players at the beginning of the season. You would have said he's probably one of these players who's undroppable, and he has dropped him.
True, but you have seen poor performances from Romero, and whenever he's kind of fit, whenever Romero and Van de Ven are fit, they've never been dropped, and you have seen poor performances.
Yeah, but Dragoshin hasn't done what Decky's done, has he?
Yeah. That's also true.
Just make himself undroppable.
But also, yeah, that's true. When he's had the opportunities, he hasn't done that. But also before the opportunities arose, like whenever Romero and Van de Ven were fit, they played, even if Romero would cost goals and stuff.
Yeah, but the reason Decky's got that chance is because when he's been in the team, he's just said, I've been that good, you just can't not play me. Dragoshin hasn't done that.
But also, I feel like Decky is a different stature in the squad to Radu, so I don't think it's like complete same thing comparing that situation and this situation. I feel like Radu is very far behind, where I didn't think Kulusevski was that far behind.
I mean, compared to Maddison, I mean, he was a vice captain. He's a player who signed for big money. Decky was, last season, a lot of people saying, where is he? Where's his place?
Yeah,
in the
because
team?
he was playing in the right wing. But I feel like Decky is still like a massive voice in that dressing room, and he's been here for a while as well.
I'm just saying, I think Ange has shown that if you're playing well enough, he will play you. If if you make yourself undroppable.
Well, either way, this situation is kind of irrelevant now because Radu's putting two stinkers.
That's true.
Last but not least, Give Me Sports say that Cuti Romero is increasingly likely to push for a move away from Tottenham if Real Madrid step up their interest. I mean, that's a big if at this moment in time. However, Eder Militao has just got his second ACL in the space of 2 seasons. So, I mean, surely they've got to be desperate for a centre-back.
I'm sure they're looking for one, but as I've said before, if Romero keeps playing like he's playing, I don't know if they could spend the money that is needed to get him in.
However, he still puts in masterclasses for Argentina every international break. You know what I mean? So that's got.
He still plays well some games.
Consideration too.
He's not playing stinkers every game. When he plays well, he plays really well. It's just I don't know. He's like lacking concentration or something. But when he's in these, sometimes like he is like Sunday, he's just a bit all over the place. And a player like Romero needs to be fully concentrated. It feels like to be at his very best. I think he's class when he's great, but I can't deny this season he's just not having enough good games to tell me that he's been consistently good enough right now.
Yeah,
and that's not good enough.
And when you're talking about teams that can actually put the money on the table that Spurs will accept this summer, apart from Real Madrid, there's no one really else that are going to go for him.
Yeah, I think unless Bayern, I don't know, unless they're going to put the money up for him. I can't think of too many other clubs. City, don't know.
I don't see City. I mean, City have got a host of centre backs there. So
Liverpool.
I mean, Real Madrid are probably, even Liverpool. Liverpool probably need him. They could do with him. Konate's got his injury problems. Van Dijk's aging, but I think Spurs will probably hold off on sending him to a Premier League rival as opposed to going to Real Madrid.
They'll put a premium on that if a Premier League team wants him.
If it's like 80 million for Real Madrid, it's probably like 130 million for Liverpool.
But look, it's a long season. Right now, it looks one way, but let's hope it changes.
Yeah, and it's not even just Kuti who could be available. I mean, Saliba as well is in the same contract situation. So I think Real Madrid will look at one of those 2 centre backs.
Probably. If I was them, I would.
Yeah. But anyway, that is your Tottenham update. So let us know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all those news topics that we've spoken about today. And let's finish off on Review the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. The scores on the doors are 102 to Sim, 109 to me. And the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. We start off with the teams, the league's entertainers in Brentford. 3-2 to Brentford against Bournemouth. And Sim went for 2-2. I went for 1-1. And what a topsy-turvy game this was. And we seem to be saying this every week
honestly,
with Brentford. I mean, it's unbelievable how they keep coming back. Well, either they keep coming back or they just bottle a lead. I mean, it's either one or the other. I always thought this was going to be an interesting game because Brentford got the best home form in the league, and Bournemouth, I think they've been really poor in terms of results away from home this season. So it's not that surprising that Brentford got the 3 points. But on the back of, the Man City win and the Arsenal win, I was expecting a bit more from Bournemouth, albeit they did get 2 goals. But it's that formidable attack, isn't it? With Johan Wissa and Brian and Mbeumo. I mean, I think I can't remember the stat, but they've contributed to so many goals and assists since Ivan Toney's gone.
Yeah, so they've got 5 wins and 1 draw at home this season in 6 games. It's mad. They're second in the league for goals scored and they're third bottom for goals conceded. Yeah. So at the moment, Brentford are very, very open. But yeah, what an unbelievable game of football this was. At the beginning of the game, Evan Nilsson latches onto a weak back pass from I think Vandenberg, the Brentford defender. They go 1-up, then Brentford turn it around. They turn it,
straight away 10 minutes later.
Yeah, Wissa scores. Then Justin Cliver puts Bournemouth 2-1 up, and then it was just such a topsy-turvy game. Bournemouth will be really disappointed though that having got themselves in a winning position twice, they ended up losing the game 3-2, albeit. Yeah, as you say, they hit them back twice very quickly. They actually equalised within a minute in the second one with Mountain Damsgaard.
And then 8 minutes later, they're ahead.
And then Worcester obviously gives them the win. And now they're up to 11th in the table. Bournemouth in 12th, so very, very tight between those two. Obviously, it was a real mid-table battle. But Bournemouth will just be really disappointed. The goals they conceded, especially Damsgaard's goal, the keeper has to be saving that. I think, was it Keppering goal? He has to be saving that at the near post. But Wissa, what a start to the season he's had. How many goals is that now for Wissa this season?
I think it's 6.
Because he got injured as well, and now he's come back and he's straight back on it as well. He's so underrated, isn't he? So quick in behind. And when he gets to those positions, he is quite clinical, isn't he?
Yeah, he's class.
Good, really, really good player. A lot of people talking about Mbeumo, but 7 goals for him this season.
Now?
7 goals and 1 assist for Johan Wissa this season. He just consistently gets goals, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's class.
Ever since he's come into the Prem.
I think he's got a goal contribution in every game bar 2 that he's played this season, which is unbelievable return. So, I mean, Thomas Frank's doing such a great job at Brentford, I think you even tipped them to fight relegation this season. They look like a far cry from that, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. They're 9 points clear.
Yeah, so well done to Thomas Frank and to Brentford this
Not missing
weekend.
Tony at all, are they?
Nah, not at all. Crystal Palace lost again at home, 2-0 to Fulham. Both of us you went for a draw, I went for a Palace win. But again, another manager who's doing an unbelievable job this season. You're talking about Brentford losing Ivan Toney. Fulham lost João Palhinha, and it hasn't affected them whatsoever. We were all expecting it to affect them massively. Raul Jimenez has come into his own this season. Emil Smith-Rowe looks like an unbelievable signing. And Alex Iwobi and Adama Traore are chipping in really well this season as well. 2-0 away at Palace. Smith-Rowe on the score sheet again. And the Fulham train keeps rolling.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think in the first half, Palace did have a few chances. Mateta had one cleared off the line, and Fulham as well had a few chances in that first half, and it was quite an even game. But Palace will be annoyed that they didn't get a goal at least in that first half. But Fulham really turned it on in that second half. Brilliant goal from Emil Smith-Rowe, and then Kamada gets sent off with a horrible challenge, stud showing, and then it was game over at that point, and they went on to score a second and third. Wilson, he did get a third, but was ruled out. But Harry Wilson, what a week he's had. 2 goals off the bench against Brentford, came on and scored again, and he had a third goal ruled out as well. So it was nearly 4 goals in 2 games for him, which is incredible. And Marco Silva is really getting a consistent tune out of Fulham at the moment, up in 7th, 18 points, only 1 point behind the top 3. I mean, look, the league is so tight. tight. A lot of teams can say that, but just as you say, they lost Paulinho, but the signings of Smith Rowe and even Reece Nelson's been a great signing as well for them, and Sander Berge in centre mid.
Sander Berge is brilliant.
Brilliant recruitment from Fulham, and they've really filled the gaps really effectively, spent the money really wisely that they got from João Paulinho. And fair play to Marco Silva, going from strength to strength. And Raul Jimenez has seemed to have found his old form back as well.
Yeah.
And look, an on-form Raul Jimenez is a quality striker. We saw that at Wolves, and maybe it's taken him this long, but he seems to be getting back to his best now, Jimenez as well. So fair play to him, and brilliant win. But Palace, after beating Spurs, is another 2 games out of win.
Yeah. I think Spurs is our only win of the season, and I envisage something similar with Ipswich as well. But you've got to give credit to Marco Silva, the way he's not galvanised, but in terms of the way he's managing this team. Absolutely brilliant stuff, and they seem to be winning. I think they hadn't won in the last 2-3 weeks, Fulham, or no, they beat 3-2, but apart from before that, I think they went 3 games winless. But yeah, he keeps batting down all the critics. Fulham, they're sitting in 7th spot now, 1 point behind Chelsea in 3rd.
But I feel like with Palace as well, they're really missing Eze Morton because they got bad injuries just after Spurs, and they haven't been quite. They're such big players for them. I think they were playing like an 18-year-old at centre mid, and it's just, replacing him, Eze with him, and it wasn't going to be successful. And they need Eze's magic if they're going to have a chance to stay up.
Yeah. Harry Wilson as well, 3 goals in 10 minutes for him.
What man.
West Ham 0, Everton 0 in a really dire game of football. Both of us went for West Ham wins here. We thought he had to get a win just before the international break to save his job. But do you think he will get sacked? I mean, Jordan Pickford made a number of great saves.
He did. I watched the game, and it was a terrible game, I have to say. Especially the first half, West Ham were terrible. Really offered very, very little. If anything, Everton should have been in that lead in the first half. Yeah. They were the ones making all the running, and West Ham just looked sluggish. They looked slow. But just like has so often happened in the last few weeks for West Ham, they did step up a bit in the second half. And I think definitely when they brought on Danny Ings, he made a big difference, Danny Ings. And he was getting a lot more joy than Mikel Antonio up front. He nearly scored with a goal that deflected right in the last minute, and Pickford with a brilliant tip over, which saved Everton a point. And actually, they probably had the better of it in that second half, West Ham, to be fair to them. But still, wasn't convincing at all. Still very sluggish. Still didn't create too many clear-cut opportunities. And Everton were a side who seemed, by the end of it, happy for a point. But I thought Everton definitely had the better of the first half. Everton had the better of the second half. A draw, probably a fair result, but it just wasn't a great game of football at the end of the day.
And the manager, West Ham manager, he keeps trying new things and different things game on game to try find like the kind of best way to combat things, and just nothing seems to work, does it?
Yeah, and there were loud boos at half time. I think the point will just about keep him in a job, albeit it'll be a long international break for him for sure. Maybe he'll turn his phone on Do Not Disturb if I was him. But I think he'll just about save it. But I mean, I don't know how long for. Is it a stay of execution, or is it something to build on? I think it's probably the former.
Yeah, you just never know, do you, though? Like
next game, St. James's Park, and then they got Arsenal.
Oh, really?
Next 2 games. They need to get at least something out of one of those games.
Yeah. Next game is Wolves against Southampton, which gave Wolves their first win of the season. 2-0 at home. Sim went for 3-0. I went for 3-1. So close to that 5 pointer, Sim. Because I thought Wolves were going to get that 3rd goal because 2-0 by the 51st minute with Cunha. Cunha's having a brilliant season, by the way.
What a goal!
Radar. Yeah, unbelievable.
What a goal he scored!
I captained on an FPL this week. Southampton, poor performance from them, but I mean, I think everyone fully expected Wolves on the back of the last 2 performances that Wolves have put in. I think everyone kind of fully expected Wolves to get the 3 points this week. Yeah,
it's a perfect game for Wolves. The way they set up 3 at the back, play counter-attacking, the way Southampton always don't change their principles. It was going to be the perfect game, and they got 1-0 up within a minute. Cunha playing at Sarabia, and bam, it's 1-0. The game did turn a bit on the one moment of VAR goal ruled out for Southampton because they equalised quite quickly, and there was their left back who scored it, and the VAR gets involved and gives a foul from Semedo, and the Southampton players are very incensed at that foul, and they think that VAR shouldn't go involved. And looking at it back, I mean, it's harsh. I do think it's probably a foul on Semedo, to be honest, in my opinion. But again, it's just one of those where I don't know if it's a clear and obvious error. I don't know if VAR should be getting involved in that. And Southampton, I think feel the right to be aggrieved. And then Cunha seals it with an unbelievable goal. Brilliant win, much needed win for Wolves. I don't think a win at home to Southampton is going to change much for them unless they can build on it. But it's something that needed to happen to make sure that Gary Neal stays in the job for now.
Yeah, I think it was very important for them to get the 3 points because Southampton were the team that was very close to them. But you look at their next few games, they got Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Everton away, 3 massive games. And I think they can pick up points in those games. I think with Bournemouth at home, I think they can definitely get something from that. Fulham away will be very difficult. Everton away is going to be a bit like a 6-pointer. So I do think there's life in there for Gary O'Neill still. I think he's a good manager.
Big weeks ahead.
Next up is Brighton against Manchester City. I went for 2-2. You went for 3-2 to City, but Brighton did win the game to heap more misery onto Manchester City. I think it's an uncharted territory now for Pep Guardiola. 4 losses in a row. I don't think he's ever been in that situation before. And, you know, the game started, and I think Man City started the game really well. Erling Haaland gets on the score sheet, and you're thinking, oh, Man City are back. And I thought Brighton were just a bit abject, playing within themselves a bit in that first half. But, you know, change at half-time. Brighton did start the second half really well. And then the big changes happen when O'Reilly and João Pedro come on. And João Pedro, goal and assist. O'Reilly gets, with his first game for Brighton, gets on the score sheet. And I think Brighton played an unbelievable period in that second half.
They did, and I think it was one of those where it looked like it was going to be one of those games where Brighton just give a good account of themselves but come unstuck. But once that goal went in, it was coming, that goal at the time when they scored it with João Pedro, and you just had that feeling with the pressure they were putting on City. If they got 1 goal, they could maybe get 2 quick goals, and that's exactly what happened with 2 goals in 5 minutes. They were 1-0 down going into just before the last 10 minutes. They scored their first one on 78, and an unbelievable turnaround for them, and showed what a great footballing side there are. Matoma was giving Walker all sorts of trouble down the left-hand side. What I like about this Brighton team is they do have a lot of depth when it comes to the attacking options. They got, Startu Welbeck. They could bring on João Pedro. They had Matoma. They could bring on Gruder. They had Rutter. They could bring on. They've got so many players they can bring on from an offensive point of view. In Ciso, they can bring on people like that. So they've got a lot of options in the forward line. So that, it keeps you on your toes, and especially with City struggling at the moment with a lot of injuries, it kind of felt like they didn't have too many options to come on and change the game. And it also seems like they have Haaland at the moment, who's obviously always good for a goal, but if he's not scoring, you're looking around their team, you do wonder where the goals are coming from. Now, to caveat that, De Bruyne is just coming back, Doku's just coming back, Grealish is still out. So they do have players, not necessarily goal scorers, but players who can maybe chip in a bit. So they need to come back for sure, and especially De Bruyne is a massive one. They're really missing him at the moment. But while they're out, now with Alvarez gone, there's just not too many goal scorers in that team. Gavardio scores from defence, but you can't rely on him to score. It's a difficult one. Savinho needs to start chipping in with goals, I feel. Matthias Nunes is not really a left winger. He's filling in at the moment there. And, there's no one you're confident when they're going for on goal. If it's not Haaland, you're not really confident they're going to bury it. And they did miss a few chances. I think Haaland himself missed a few chances. They just looked tired. And I thought, first off, they did look good. But once Brighton took control, Man City didn't really have an answer to it. They couldn't really change things to change the game.
It was a bit similar to the Spurs game with Brighton, where they were pretty poor. They go down in the first half, albeit it wasn't 2-0 this time, it was only 1-0. And then really good tactical changes from Hertzler in the second half to swing the game in their advantage. And João Pedro, I think that was his first game back, played the last half an hour, 25 minutes, goal and an assist, and that's going to bring up something extra in the bowls for Hertzler as well. So a great addition for them.
Yeah, but Man City, 4 losses in a row, 5
How
points
many
behind.
in the Premier League is it?
2 in the Prem, 5 points behind Liverpool now. They're still 4 points clear of Chelsea and Arsenal, who are 3rd and 4th. and Forest and Brighton, who are all now level on points. So from their point of view, I guess it's not crisis yet because they're still within touching distance of Liverpool. But if that gap gets any further, I mean, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, but you don't back anyone else more than Manchester City to kind of back down that gap.
Correct. But no Rodri. Difficult.
I think they're going to go big in January for CDM. I think there's rumours about Zubimendi or something, 50 million release clause.
Anyone.
But Zubimendi would be unbelievable.
If Pep is such a great manager, if they can just get someone who can fill that role, even if it's like, not the best of the best, but someone who we can mould, even as a younger player, that will just up their game a lot more because they don't have a DM at the moment.
Yeah.
They're really struggling with it.
Kovacic there and
he's more of a box to box. Yeah.
Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Liverpool seem to be the only team in the league really with any sort of consistency. Aston Villa, really poor performance now for 2 weeks in a row at two tough away grounds in Tottenham and Liverpool. But I thought Liverpool won the game. I don't think they were incredible, but they got the job done. They were, very hard to beat. Goals from Darwin Núñez. I think you saw the best and the worst from Darwin Núñez in this game. And Mohamed Salah, with 5 minutes to go to seal off the game. I mean, Salah's just a freak of nature. He really is. Yeah,
it was a very tactical game, I felt. Liverpool very much only really creating opportunities when Villa went forward and on breakaways. And that's pretty much how they got both their goals. And when Villa did the only time the coincidence is the only time Villa looked threatening was from their set pieces. And Keller did have to make a few saves from set pieces, which is obviously where they got their goal last week against Spurs. But apart from that, Villa didn't really threaten too much.
Yeah.
But then Liverpool only really threatened when they were breaking from a Villa set piece. So it was a kind of give and take in that way. Villa didn't really impress me at all. Really, I thought yes they had a foothold in the game, but they never really looked threatening apart from corners. And Liverpool didn't have to be at their best to win the game. And when you're beating a team like Villa not at your best, that's a very good sign for them.
How often are we saying that about Liverpool this season, though? Like,
Brighton last week as well.
They keep getting the points,
but will it catch up with them, or will we see them at their best at some point? That's always the question.
I do think you will see bumps in the road.
I'm sure you will, but I think people are discounting Liverpool too easily because when you think about it, first of all, they've got title winners in that team: Van Dijk, Salah, Trent, Robertson. These players who know what it's like. Alisson, I know he's injured at the moment, but he's also a part of the squad. These are players who have been there and won the title for them. Was Luis Diaz in that squad potentially? Maybe not. But still, they've got title winners in that squad. And also, like people talk about when new managers comes in, it's a rebuild, but Slot hasn't had to rebuild.
He didn't make a signing.
Exactly, because Klopp did all the rebuilding and he left him with a rebuild already completed. So he actually hasn't come into this job cold. Like, let's say, for example, Ange had to rip everything up and change it all. Slot hasn't had to do that because that rebuild happened just before he came, and he was and Klopp left the club in a good situation. So the rebuild's kind of already happened, and yes, they're changing the way they're playing. I'm sure there will be during the season some adjustment period, but who's to say they can't go and win the league just because it's Slot's first season with the players they have?
I think they can do it. I mean,
and you're 9 points clear now of Arsenal. I know Arsenal played a lot of hard away games, but still, that's a big gap. That is a big gap.
I mean, I'm looking at the gap between them and Man City, and it is only 5 points. In this stage of the season, 5 points really isn't much. Liverpool lose one game, Man City win one game. All of a sudden, that gap is like neck and neck. So
they've got City coming up.
Yeah, massive game in 2 games' time is so Man City's next 2 games are Tottenham and Liverpool. So I think Man City will be back at it very soon. I don't think this run is going to last for much longer.
I think they need to make sure that they're still in it by January.
Yeah,
I think it could be difficult between now and January, though, for them.
I'm not so sure because I think if City do what City do every year and just go on a mad winning run from January onwards, then even if it's like 8 or 9 points, I think that's bridgeable.
But they need to make sure that is the gap.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it can be more than 8 or 9? It's 5 now.
Depends. They could lose to Liverpool, and then all of a sudden it's 8 points already.
Yeah. I think they draw. I think that game's a draw.
They could lose to us.
Yeah, they could.
They could. You know what I mean?
Look, 100%. But I still think, because of what City show every single year in the second half
they've had
of the
Rodri
season,
every year.
Yeah, that's true. But I firmly believe
so
they're
important.
They're going to bring a CDM in the.
Yeah, they have to do it. So that's what I'm saying. They have to make sure they're still in it by January. That's what I'm saying. Like, they have to make sure the gap's not too big. Because I do think that gap could grow between now and January. They just got to make sure they win enough games to make sure they're still kind of in touching distance.
Is the game at Anfield or is it at Etihad?
I think it's at Anfield. It is at Anfield.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a draw, that game.
So that'll be a good result for City if they can just make
Very
sure
good,
Liverpool don't increase that lead.
Yeah. Next up is Manchester United Leicester 3-0 to Man United. Ruud van Nistelrooy probably get the job. He's done a good job so far. We both went for 3-1. Yeah, I didn't see much of this game, but I saw Garnacho's goal, which was a really good goal. Fernandes as well, suddenly come alive since Ten Hag has left the club. But yeah, good 3 points for United.
Yeah, standard 3 points. What I would say is Leicester will feel really unfortunate they didn't get a goal because they did create a number of chances in this game, and they'll be really disappointed they didn't at least get one goal to get back in the game because they should have. I think it was Ndidi who went through on goal, and he missed a really presentable opportunity. They had a few of them missing good chances, so they'll be disappointed. But Man United, it was just a game where their quality told. I don't think it was a great performance, but when you got Bruno there, he could always come up with moments for you, and that's exactly what happened. So solid win.
Next up is Nottingham Forest against Newcastle. And finally, Forest lose a game at home against Newcastle. I went for 2-1, so I gain a point here, and Sim went for 1-1. And, Murillo puts them 1-0 up early doors after the first 20 minutes. And you're thinking, bloody hell, is Forest ever going to stop winning? But brilliant second half performance from Newcastle, scoring 3 goals in that second half gives them, I think it was a deserved win. Yeah,
really impressive. Difficult game away at Forest, especially with Newcastle not having the best of season so far. But going 1-0 down, you're thinking are Forest going to carry on that brilliant form they've been on. But Newcastle got back in the game quite quickly with Isaac, and then 2 brilliant goals from Barnes and Joe Linton, giving them the win. And really solid to make sure that they had the quality to break down what is a very stubborn Forest defence. That's been the key for Forest this season, to making sure that they're so high up in the table, is that defence. And to score 3 goals against them away from home is very impressive, albeit I think Forest are a bit better away from home than they are at home.
Yeah.
But very good result for Newcastle, and they showed that they got the quality to outdo this Forest side. And I wonder if we'll start to see the drop-off from Forest now. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, in terms of Forest away from home and at home, away from home, they're the second best team in the league. At home, they're sitting in 13th. So
there you go.
That tells you the story. Spurs 1, Ipswich 2. Sim went for 4-1. I went for 4-0. So a lot of egg on our face for this one. But yeah, look, deserved a win for Ipswich. They played us off the park at times. First half, they go in 2-0 up, and we just couldn't claw it back. We got a goal back. What was it, with about 20 minutes, half an hour, or 35 minutes to go. I can't remember the exact time of the game. And we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. After that, I thought Spurs were pretty toothless. Yeah, well, it's a terrible result for Tottenham. And look, it was another case of Tottenham failing to capitalise on opportunities. And look, and if you keep getting these kind of results, people are not going to take you seriously. And I can understand why, at the moment, a lot of people are writing Tottenham off, because you're losing at home to second of the bottom of the league, Ipswich, who haven't won a game all season. And it's a shocking result, especially after it looked like we turned a corner against City and Villa, and we looked like maybe we'd learned some harsh lessons what we did against Brighton and Palace, but it seems like we've still got a hell of a lot more learning to do, because this result was probably the worst of the lot. Really, really poor, and really shocking result. And the fact we only scored from a set piece as well, couldn't. Solanke, Son, Johnson couldn't affect the game. Really, really poor, really embarrassing, really, I think is the right word. And Johnson pulling out challenges for that first goal, cowardly. The second goal, just terrible goal conceded from a counter-attack when we should have equalised just before that. And as much as we rallied in the second half, it was nowhere near enough to get back in the game, and Ipswich got a deserved victory, and a massive blow for Spurs. Yeah, definitely the worst defeat in Ange Postecoglou's tenure so far, that's for sure. And last but not least, Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1 in the London derby at Stamford Bridge. Sim went for 2-2, so he gains a point. I went for 1-1, so a big fat 5-pointer to extend the lead this weekend. And look, I think it was, two teams at quite a similar level in this game. I thought Arsenal, it says here they created 4 big chances to Chelsea's 1 big chance. But I thought in the first half, probably Chelsea were creating the better of the chances than Arsenal. Arsenal go 1-0 up. from Martinelli with half an hour to go, and you're thinking Arsenal are going to nick an away win here, like they have done so many times. But up steps Pedro Neto with 20 minutes to go, only 10 minutes after Martinelli scores, which may be showing a little bit of the soft underbelly that Arsenal have showed in previous weeks, but a brilliant finish from Neto.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Martin Odegaard definitely was a welcome return for Arsenal, because he looked like he hadn't been away. He was putting a really strong display. It was a really good assist for Martinelli's goal. Well, I have to say, though, Sanchez has to be saving that. Martinelli goal. He leaves way too big of a gap. The angle was so tight. I don't think Martinelli can get it into the far post. So all he has to do is cover that near post. And I think he has it covered. And it's terrible keeping for me from Sanchez for that first goal, albeit a great assist for Odegaard. But I do think Chelsea I think it was an even game. I think Chelsea probably will feel like they deserve the point out of it. Gusto missing that a really big chance at the beginning of the game. Palmer at the early parts of the game was looking bright as well. Arsenal, though, they did have some late in the game, some big chances to win it. Neto with a brilliant goal, and then Moreno has a big chance to make it 2-1, and then right at the end, oh my word, Havertz will be absolutely having sleepless nights about that Trossard touch that just takes it away from him. It wasn't. I think it was onside on both accounts.
Was it?
I think it would have been a goal. From what I can see.
So Arteta dropped down to the floor at that moment.
Yeah, and what a chance. Last kick, that was literally, he blew the whistle as soon as after that happened. Yeah. Last kick of the game, ball across the face of goal from Saliba, and all Trossard has to do is just leave it for Havertz to tap in. Doesn't do it, and there's a missed chance. So big missed opportunity for Arsenal to get 3 points at that moment. Look, on the face of it, a 1-1 draw away at Chelsea is not the worst result, but the fact of the matter is it leaves them 9 points behind Liverpool. And for whatever they want to say about, Liverpool are not as good as City, they're 9 points behind them. And Liverpool have more title winners in their team than you do in yours. And Liverpool, they have a very good team. And you can't just discount them just because last couple of seasons you finished above them. That's no excuse. And 9 points is a big gap. It's a 3-game swing. You've already played them at home, and they couldn't win them. They couldn't win the game. They drew 2-2. So it's a big gap, and that involves Liverpool collapsing a bit and Arsenal going on a really strong winning run. And those are two big asks at this point.
Yeah, it's true. But having said that, we've seen that Arsenal in top form are capable of going on those runs. We saw that last season. I think second half of the season they pretty much matched City apart from the Villa game. And Liverpool, we're kind of going into the unknown. They've had a brilliant start under Arne Slot, but we don't know what bumps in the road are going to come for them. So I wouldn't completely discount it, but right now with the way the two teams are playing, it's hard to see it.
It's 9, at the end of the day, it's 9 points. And
at this stage of the season, 9 points is not so much.
It's a lot. It's a lot. You're on 10 games. I'm not saying it's not catch-upable, but you can't give a team a 9-point head start.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
regardless of the fixtures you've had,
I think Liverpool still got those hard away fixtures to go. So,
but Liverpool, they've gone to Emirates and got a draw. They've beaten Leverkusen 3-0. They went to 4-0. They went to San Siro and they won. They won against AC Milan, a team who beat Real Madrid. They beat them comfortably. They've beaten Chelsea already 2-1 this season. They've beaten Aston Villa just now 2-0 as well. So it's not like they've had easy games. They've had tough games, and
the majority of games you're talking about are in Europe, not in the Premier League.
Not majority, just Milan and Leverkusen.
Well, who are the other games you said? Chelsea,
Anfield. They played.
Chelsea and Emirates.
Emirates. They played Chelsea. They battered United at Old Trafford. They've played Emirates 2-2. So played Brighton at home 1-1. Arsenal didn't win that game, and they played Brighton at home. They beat Brighton as well. So it's not like these guys have had easy games, is it?
But I mean, you're looking at Arsenal's fixtures, and they've literally played all the top 6 away from home apart from Liverpool.
Yeah, but they dropped points to Newcastle, they dropped points to Bournemouth, they dropped points to Brighton. So these are, as much as they got good results at Spurs and Villa, they didn't get good results at Bournemouth and Newcastle, cancel each other out.
As Man City have dropped points in the same games.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Liverpool here. Yeah. I'm saying Liverpool have had a lot of tests thrown at them. They're coming away from that.
Yeah, but it's still early days in Arne Slot's tenure. You never know what's around the corner. The Premier League is a very, very intense and unpredictable league this season. So 9 points at 11 games gone, I don't think it's insurmountable. As much as I want to say it, and I'm laughing at every Arsenal fan at the moment because they haven't won a game in over a month at this moment in time. So obviously, if those results keep carrying on and they fall even further behind, it will become insurmountable. But at this moment in time, I don't think it is.
I think they've got to be careful because if that gap grows, they could be finding themselves well out of the race very soon.
If the gap grows, 100%,
it could easily grow.
100%. And I hope it does.
I think it can.
I hope it does.
Four games out of win without for Arsenal. Wow.
Yeah, over a month.
Over a month. 4 games. Wow.
In terms of the form table in the Premier League, I think they're sitting in 16th. So Arsenal are firmly in the mud. But I do feel like Arsenal's performances over the last couple of games have got a little bit better.
A bit. Nothing too incredible, but yeah, a bit better.
Yeah. Star men, I think we can just breeze past these two. Bloody hell. Sim went for Brennan Johnson.
Thank God you got Solanke over me.
I went for Dom Solanke.
Both missed chance. I mean, Solanke had his goal ruled out from VAR, and Johnson had that chance right at the beginning of the game.
We literally buskied Spurs so hard this weekend with Star men. 4-1, 4-0. Oh, my days.
Deary me. Deary me.
But yeah, we finished this weekend before the international break. 118 points to me. 105 points for Sim. And I want to thank you all for watching this long stream today. 2 hours, 45 minutes of unadulterated crying.
We saved the longest ones for the worst games. Is that it?
That's it. But yeah, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Tom81 with the super chat says, great to meet you yesterday, Ben. Face said it all. Thank you, Tom. It was good to meet you as well. Hopefully next time under better circumstances. But thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you all tomorrow for some more content where I think we're going to go through that Hugo Lloris book, all the quotes that are coming out from there. So looking forward to that one. But like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.